welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This is your politics program, and of course, I'm your host. Hello, neighbor. The moderator is Caroline, and our technical director is Shefreen. Of course, the team is completed by our analysts, Harry, and the raspy voice Scratch. Oh my God, my chair is falling off. Let's bring the. I've wanted to talk Nara for a long time. Let's bring the conversation to that tonight, and I'm going to take a little time, but I think it is important. I've been getting some calls. My listeners are saying to me that I should get them to understand Nara. Now, beyond the political arguments, beyond the parliamentary tension, and the Gleaner had a very long editorial, surprisingly so, because editorials are not, we're not used to editorials being that lengthy. Raising concerns about NARA. Now, NARA is the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. Thank you, Caroline. How Jamaica rebuilds after disaster and how fast it can do so is what NARA is concerned about. NARA is being proposed because Jamaica's traditional systems of public works and recovery were never designed for the scale of modern disaster response. Okay, so after major shocks like hurricane, and you have your infrastructure collapsing, the government faces a number of challenges. One, it faces systems of procurement, the overlapping of agencies, delays that slows recovery. NARA, therefore, is designed to fix that, because what the government is seeking to do is to centralize reconstruction under one authority. What NARA is meant to do at its core would function as a special purpose agency, and they would have responsibility for the national reconstruction projects. They would be given authority to coordinate rapid rebuilding. They would have control over large dedicated recovery budget. And of course, they would have the flexibility to bypass some of the more traditional bottlenecks um, in the execution, of the reconstruction. Because Jamaica is operating in a new reality, when the scale of damage is at this magnitude, recovery is no longer about routine public works. It is about national resilience. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Slow systems cost lives. Not only lives, but livelihoods. Yes? And the economic momentum is slowed. So NARA is not being created for convenience. It is being created because the old pace is no longer enough. The old way of doing things can't carry us forward. Now, NARA is operating in a democracy. And so there is no agency of this size that can operate without law. Hence, the government have to carry a bill to Parliament to enact the authority of NARA. The bill defines NARA's power. It sets limits on NARA. It establishes oversight. And it determines accountability. My goodness, I just lost the the information up here on my screen. Let me see if I can get this back here. Give me a second, dear listeners. Let's see, I can get this back here. I'm right here. Great. All right. Give me a second. All right. Oh, give me a second here. Let me see if I can come up back with this. All right. This week, the United States of America is celebrating 250 years. And I had reasons today to look at the United States and how that democracy has delivered for the people of the United States. And I found out that they came together at very critical times in their development. They came together. What is the role of the opposition in the establishment of NARA? They should scrutinize the bill. They should test the safeguards. They should raise the red flags. And of course, they ought to ensure public accountability. That is democracy working. But scrutiny must match with responsibility, because there is a danger in delay. There's a difference between improving the legislation and stalling national recovery. Because if the bill is delayed for too long, then the reconstruction is delayed. The mechanisms for funding are going to remain unclear. The coordination stays fragmented, and the communities are going to remain waiting. And when you talk about waiting in a post-disaster Jamaica, it is not neutral. It is costly. And so at the heart of the NARA's debate is a deeper question. In moments of national urgency, what matters more? Perfect system or functional ones? Are we going to wait to perfect the NARA bill? Or are we going to move forward with a functional bill and start the reconstruction? Because there is no system that will ever be perfect. There's no system that can be perfect. But a delayed system that could have worked is still a system. And if we fail in this moment, to start the rebuilding of our country, we are failing our people. And we are also failing the generation that is coming after us. So then, we're not talking about blind speed. It is urgent legislation with disciplined oversight. Pass the framework, strengthen the safeguards, empower the accountability structures, refine as the implementation unfolds. Pass the bill. Because Jamaica does not need laws that look good on paper. Jamaica needs systems that move in real time with the country's reality. We'll say that again. We don't need laws that look good on paper. What we need is to move forward with real time. Time is against us. So at the end of the day, NARA is not about politics. It is about rebuilding homes. It is about restoring roads. It is about restarting lives. And the real question for Parliament is this: will Jamaica choose delay in the name of perfection? Or will Jamaica choose progress in the presence of urgency? Those are the questions that the Parliament must answer. How urgent is the NARA bill? Now, I see the Gleaner put out an editorial on this, raising some concerns about the bill. I'm trying to see if I can find. I'm trying to see if I can find it. The Gleaner had an editorial about this. All right. So let's be clear. The Gleaner has raised some questions about transparency. They are arguing about the concentration of power and the whole matter of accountability. I think, you see, that the history of Jamaica demands vigilance. But the tone and direction of the argument leans towards delay. What the Gleaner is arguing from their editorial is about delay. The Gleaner is suggesting that the bill be delayed. In other words, expand the consultations, slow down the process. And that raises another question. Who benefits from delay? Who benefits from delay? Because you see, in politics, timing is never accidental, you know. Because delays shift the narrative. It reshapes the public's perception. And yes, so sometimes delays align with the strategic objectives of the opposition. The People's National Party, for example, would not mind a delay. But for the ordinary Jamaicans, delay doesn't feel strategic. It feels like you're waiting. I mean, the people in Black River, you think they want delay? The people over in Westmoreland, they want delay? In Jamaica, do you need any further delay? The government, you see, led by Andrew Holness, is making a different argument. The government is saying that diffused accountability slows outcomes. That concentrated authority, while imperfect, can deliver speed. And in a post-disaster context, speed matters. Because the roads must be rebuilt, the homes must be restored, the economy must restart. An economy, plural, you could say economies, because each community have its own set of economic activities. This is not the moment for bureaucratic drag. If there was ever a moment when, why I tell you. Anyway, here is the balance. Here's the balance, because this is getting a little bit frustrating. The real answer is not delay. It is parallel action. You have to pass the legislation. You have to establish NARA. And at the same time, simultaneously, you strengthen the oversight in real time. The first thing that must happen is that NARA must pass the bill. Get NARA established. And while you are getting on with the work, you can strengthen the mechanisms of accountability. Because at its core, listeners, the debate asks, what is the purpose of government in a crisis? What is the purpose of government when they are facing a crisis? Is it to be flawless, or is it to be effective? Let me ask you a question. If your house catch fire and you call the fire truck, are you concerned that the firemen did not come in their uniforms? Are you concerned that the fire truck dirty? Are you concerned that the fire hose a leak? What would be your concern? You let them blast the water in your house to see if them can put out the fire. What is the government to do? Create a perfect system to start the reconstruction? That not stupid, man. That not foolish. And if an imperfect fire truck puts out your fire, it not save lives, man. So yes, hold the government accountable, but also demand action. Because in moments like this, the greatest injustice is not flawed governance. The greatest injustice is delayed recovery. We don't want a perfect bill to start. Pass the NARA bill and let's get going, Jamaica. And let's speak a little bit more plainly. So I'm taking my time tonight. Let's speak a little bit more plainly. The position being advanced by the gleaner is in effect a call for delay. Dress it up as much as you want. The gleaner is saying delayed. We have to call it what it is. This is not happening in a vacuum. Because while we fiddle Communities are still recovering. People are displaced. And the infrastructure of the country is broken. How long should we wait? How long should we wait? Because every week of delay is not theory. Every week that we delay is not theory. It is real people struggling. Real economic opportunities missed. Because although the Gleaners' argument sound principled, Jamaica has never suffered from too much urgency. Jamaica has suffered from too much delay. We have to get up. And you know, I hope that the government understands the urgency of this, understands the strategies, and is prepared to pass this bill. Jamaica has never suffered from too much urgency. Jamaica has suffered from too much delay. I heard Orbin Hill talk about the procurement guidelines. All 3 years, it can take you to construct one road in Jamaica. Far too many committees. Far too many reviews. Too many perfectly worded systems that never deliver not a thing to the people of Jamaica. Bills upon bills upon bills, and what the people want is bills in them pocket. Some of these bills, committees upon committees, bills upon bills, reviews upon reviews, debate upon debate. So when we hear pause, we have to ask, is this about the people? Or are we protecting the process? You know, Jamaicans, we are too quiet. We elect governments and we don't actively support the government. We need a 5,000 people down at Gordon House when the Nara bill is to be debated with placards saying, pass the bill. 5,000. Pass it. And we don't leave out of the parliament doorway there till the bill pass. They have to stay in the whole night and pass it. Whatever they need to fix with it. Pass it. This is about the people, our process. In a crisis, you're asking for process? Let me ask you a question. If you go to save a man that is drowning, and the man say, all right, sir, before you save me, can we talk about the process? You can imagine that? A man is drowning, and you go out there to save him. And the drowning man is telling you, hold on there, sir. Me may you. Let me hear you talk. Yeah? Hold on there before you rescue me. Maybe you have a discussion about the process. Let me tell you something. There is one thought that says, get the system perfect before you act. And there is another one that says, act now and refine as you go. Many Jamaicans understand what I'm saying. Because enough of we. When we start with house, we finish 2 room and move in. Some of we move in on the bare floor without no tile. Some of we move in the house with no window night. Some of we, when we move in the house, we have to take plyboard nail up the door. No kitchen at night. No paint. But at least we know, say, we move in our own house. And as we go along, we take with time and finish it. Not true? That's how we start. Step over them and pass the bill. And I'm calling upon Jamaicans. Make we lead a movement that the Naira bill must not be delayed by no politics, no gleaner, no civil society group. How much weeks we must give them? How much weeks? Can somebody get it from the Jamaica Labour Party and the government for me now? How much week them need for the bill to pass? 5,000 Jamaicans must turn up. And the bill, if the bill don't pass, Parliament can lock. Rubbish. Rubbish about delay. The gleaner can't stop the Naira bill. Not to stop it. Because when you have a system that prioritizes process over people, that system is hollow. We do not want a system that prioritizes no process. Mr. Patterson one time told Dr. The housing man to let the paperwork catch up. Dr. Blythe. Get the thing moving. Because government is not an academic exercise. Government has the responsibility to act, especially in a crisis. Procurement, in a crisis, people's lives are at risk. Are you talking about process? Did you know that it is not legal for you to operate your car as an ambulance? But how many of you Jamaicans have to put on your 4-way flasher, turn on your headlamp, press your horn, and carry somebody to go to hospital? You can call ambulance when the man are dead. You will call ambulance. You pass a man on a roadside. Yes? In car crash. And he need to get to the hospital. What you do? You know, put on your 4-way, turn on your headlight, and break the law to save the life. Let's not pretend, that politics is not part of this, Let's not even pretend that politics is not part of this, Extended debate. Defense lawyers use this strategy all the time. Delay the case. All 10 years it tie up in a court. Sometimes they tie it up in a court so long the man dead. Slow the timelines down. And after that time, the public begins to doubt. These things don't exist in isolation, because perception has been shaped and they are creating openings. And yes, that environment benefits the opposition. So we have to watch and ask, is the Gleaner a proxy? Is the Gleaner in collusion with the People's National Party? Because the Jamaica Labour Party's fourth-term success hangs partly with this NARA bill passing and the reconstruction happening. It cannot happen in the present structure. The amount of money that is to be spent, the magnitude of the reconstruction can't happen under this system. And if we take 1 year to pass the NARA bill, then it's 1 year of delay that the country cannot afford. And while the political class navigates advantage, ordinary Jamaicans are navigating survival. Get on with the job. And that's why I'm calling upon the people of Jamaica to lobby your MPs, opposition MPs, every constituency in Jamaica need to get 500 signatures to them MP and tell you MP pass the bill. Opposition MPs, government MPs, sign a petition and send it to your MP and tell him pass the NARA bill. Argument done. I feel though, that the government has a mandate. The administration of Andrew Holness has made its position clear. It needs a centralized authority. It needs faster execution. And it needs clearer accountability. You may not like the structure, but you cannot deny the urgency. Because rebuilding a country is not the time for hesitation. Bill should have passed long time. It's too late. And I want to be responsible because I'm not suggesting that oversight don't matter. I'm not suggesting that transparency don't matter. I am not suggesting that safeguards don't matter. But those are not paralysis. You do not fix urgency by removing it. You fix it by managing it. So the answer is not to stall the bill. The answer is to move forward and tighten the systems as it operates. So here is where we want to take this home. Jamaica does not need another delay disguised as diligence. They are disguising the delay as diligence. Jamaica needs action because a delayed recovery is not neutral. It is a decision to leave people waiting. And the country has waited long enough. Um, let me double down on this a little bit. 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. There's a moment in American political history that still echoes today. George H. Bush contested an election with Bill Clinton, and something amazing happened. President Bush, that's senior, left a letter in the Oval Office, and it read in part, "Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting hard for you." George Bush told Bill Clinton, "Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting for you." Think about that. No bitterness, no resistance, no calculation. George Bush recognized that once the campaign ends, the country must begin. I want to repeat that. Once the campaign ends, the country begins. Let's take that home to Jamaica. Ask yourself, have we reached that level of political maturity? Is Mark Golding like George Bush? Do you see it in Mark Golding to say to Andrew Holness, "I am rooting for you"? That's a problem in Jamaica. That's a problem. The problem in Jamaica is that our politics is trapped in a cycle. The government proposes, the opposition opposes. It's a vicious, nasty cycle. 250 years. The American democracy is not a perfect democracy. Republicans are very tough critic of the Democrats. But America have learned that country come first. Ask not what you can do for your country. No, ask what you country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And that is where development slows. If you want to know why we have not advanced further than we are in Jamaica, it's because our politics is trapped in a cycle. When the election ends, the country don't start. And unless we get there, where when the election done, the country now comes first, we will forever be in this vicious cycle of underdevelopment. There's no alignment. It's a wobble. We are in a period of rebuilding, real rebuilding. And the proposed National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority is not just another policy, but a mechanism to restore communities, livelihoods, and dignity. And yet, the tone from sections of the country, led by Mark Golding, has remained combative. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Mark Golding, in his last budget presentation, went into the parliament to remind Jamaicans how much vote he got and how them solid as a rock. On that alone, on that budget speech alone, they should reject him. George Bush told Bill Clinton, I am rooting for you, because George Bush recognized that America came first. America come first. And we need to tell Mr. Golding. And I know you're going to draw out your political knives. But I'm a Jamaican. And God has blessed me with this space and with this team to talk. And they got talk. I'm going to talk. Because Jamaica need this voice. Unafraid. Fear, balance. Conversations that matter. We need to tell Mr. Golding that it's time him come off of that. Don't go back down to the parliament, go tell us how much people vote for you. No, do it. You know, if there was that, you know, Mr. Golding is surviving because the Jamaica Labour Party they have gotten a little quiet, you know. They've gotten a little quiet because at that moment in the parliament they should have get up and tap out. Left him in there. Left him in there. Reminding the country of votes he got. What an indictment. Seat counts and them solid as a rock. As if this was a moment for arithmetic. When the man should stand up and be responsible and be a national leader, he went down to parliament talking about them solid as a rock. Yes? Reminding us how many people voted for him. Clearly couldn't care less about the rest of us. If ever there was a shaky. Let me tell you something, that the nations that rise are not the ones without disagreements. They are the ones that understand that there comes a time when you close ranks. When the election ends, the country starts. Someone need to tell that to Mr. Golden. After crises, wars, disasters, economic shocks, successful societies do something remarkable. They pause the fight to rebuild the house. Are you married? Are you married? You know this if you are married. That sometimes the arguments are not about the fact that you don't love, you know. As a matter of fact, sometimes the more you love is the more you fight. Sometimes the more you love the man is the more you fight him. Not true. Why? Can you just want to change. You quarrel and you fight, but you make it up tonight. One look below the waist, and you tremble like a child. You know me not gonna knock you down, baby. You know, one look below the waist, and you're humble like a child. After the fight, you make it up back. You pause the fight to rebuild the house. 6 months after a general election. No pause in the political fight. The fight for scarce benefits and political toils. Hostile tribes perpetually at war. Pause the fight, man, and build the house. Golden, stop the fighting. Stop the fight for power. Because power corrupts. Stop the fight for power. Wait, no man. Wait. If your time come. We're not in an election season. We are in a rebuilding season. People of Jamaica. Say it, no? Say it with me. We're not in an election season. We are in a rebuilding. Comrades, move out of the way. And let the country prosper, no man. Move out of the way. Golden, move out of the way, Golden. Move out of the way and make the country prosper. When 2029 come, or 2028 or so forth, you can't start back the election thing, man. George Bush told Bill Clinton, I am rooting for you. I am rooting for you. I'm rooting for America. Why is it that we can't put Jamaica first? Why we can't, that Bob Marley at one of his concerts held up Manley's hand and Siaga? Why Golden can't join with coolness for once to rebuild Jamaica? You don't have no identity with me, brother. Is it that you're so disconnected from us? You don't love us as a people, man. You don't love Jamaica. You know, sister, Jamaica don't need no division right now, brethren. Pause the fight. And let's rebuild the house. The house mash up. The house don't have no roof. Because you cannot repair a roof while arguing over who owns the hammer. You cannot put on back a roof if you spend time arguing who have the hammer. Listen to me. Sometimes I don't even know if I can manage this, you know. I don't know if I can manage it. Because I'm developing up. I don't know. I'm not a man that gets angry. I'm a gentleman. Well, I hope so. I'm not saying I'm a perfect man. but I'm a gentleman. The politics have to fix, man. But we fix the politics. Pause the fight and fix the house. You gonna rule over the ashes? You gonna rule over the ashes? In your own constituency, Mr. Colin. I see you standing up in your nice jacket, talking about raw sewage. Raw sewage. Running on the streets in the constituency that you are a member of parliament for. You know, sister, the house want to fix. And while we fight one another, Jack Kingdom, I go to waste. How did... If you're going to repair the roof, stop fight over the hammer. And let's just be honest tonight about the costs. Because when politics becomes permanently adversarial, which is Jamaica's reality, we have an adversarial politics. It's very adversarial. When the politics is so adversarial, projects slow down, confidence weakens, citizens lose faith, and over time the nation itself begins to drift. Not because we lack talent, not because we lack vision, but we lack unity. We lack unity when it matters most. I remember when Usain Bolt broke the world record, 9.58. Jamaica was united. When we qualified for the World Cup, there were no PNP and there were no JLP. It was Jamaica. Jamaica qualified. Why we can't unite and rebuild the country, man? Golden, why we can't unite and build the country? Why you can't tell your PNP man, people say, easy no man. Every day you know put out video. Every day you know put out video. Yes? Every day you know on the media put out video. Highlighting the problems. You know, NASA sent 4 people to the moon. One is a Canadian. The farthest man has ever been. But can I tell you something about the vehicle? Is a lot of it went left Earth, you know, but it's only the capsule return. The rest of it had to be shed. They have to shed it. On re-entry, parts of the spacecraft had to be left behind, you know. Or I could talk to you tonight. I would prophesy. And I want you to understand that NASA, when it builds the spacecraft, it's lots of money, you know. But when the spacecraft is to come back, it have to leave some of it up in the air there. Can't carry back with it. And I want you to understand, you see, listeners, that you see progress. To progress, you have to leave some things behind. You have to drop some people. You have to let go some people. And I hope the Prime Minister is listening. If he's not listening, somebody tell him. Tell Andrew Holness that the spacecraft didn't come back how it left Earth. It's a small capsule splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. The most of it burn up in the atmosphere. Because some things, if you keep them attached to you, you'll never make it back. Had the spacecraft not detached itself from the modular model, wouldn't make it back, you know. Lego Golden, and move on with the country. Let them go. Let go some of these people. Or some of these consultants, let them go. And I give that advice to you. That to move forward, you have to let go some people. As you hold on to them, you and them are going you and them will be destroyed. Don't make people hold on to you and destroy you. Let them go. Value? Oh, they are too valuable. You're not valuable. You're not valuable yourself. Oh, they're so valuable. Well, what does it profit if a man gains the world and losing soul? Lego them. Carry the bill, go to parliament, go pass it. Not even debate. Me not have money. Not even debate. Madam Speaker, put the bill to the vote. Oh, opposition leader, you have anything to say? You listen to him. You say, all right? We hear what you say, Mr. Golden, but we are past the bill here today. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, put the bill to the vote. Make it go to the committee and then vote for it. Pass the bill. This is not about silencing criticism here. It's about elevating responsibility. It's about saying to the opposition, challenge where necessary, but support when it counts. Because it's about saying to leadership, govern for all, not just for those who voted for you. It's about saying to Jamaica, demand better from both, as we have held the government to account. And this is what is wrong with Jamaica. We are to focus on criticizing the government, and the opposition gets away with too much nonsense. We are focused on criticizing the government. The government must always get it right. But we don't hold the opposition to any account. Because they are not part of the governance, a government. Because at the end of the day, when the rains come, flood waters, don't ask who you voted for. Broken roads don't care about party color. People who are trying to rebuild their lives are not interested in political point scoring. They're interested in one damn thing: progress. Progress. So maybe it's time for Jamaicans take a different posture. A posture where victory is not followed by resistance, but by responsibility. For those who lose elections, don't just prepare for the next one. When you lose an election, you just shift your mind to the next one. You don't business with the country. Because if Jamaica does well, comrades, if Jamaica do well, uno do well. When minimum wage go up, uno no get it. Eh? A Labour Party people get the minimum wage? Or everybody? Let me ask you a question. The light, the JPS light, a Labour Party people no more benefit? Comrades no drive pan road. Is there any comrade who pick the pan part? Comrades, are your children on the path program? I don't know. If Jamaica does well, doesn't everybody do well? And if Jamaica fails, we don't all fail, man. If the country fails, who fail? Labour Party people fail? Or everybody fail? What do you want? What do you want? Comrades, what do you want? Uno is Jamaicans? Or uno is what are you? Are you Jamaicans? Talk to me. Because if our hospitals improve, comrades, you use a hospital? Do you go to a hospital in Jamaica? Do you send your children to school? Are comrades benefiting from the student loan bureau? What about the roads? Don't you drive on the roads? So what is wrong with Uno? What is wrong? Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting for you. George Bush told that to Bill Clinton. Is Mark Golding rooting for Jamaica? Are you rooting for Jamaica, Mr. Golding? Is Jamaica's success not your success? Or do you want Jamaica to fail? Talk to me. Do you want this country to fail so you can rule over the ashes? Because if you want Jamaica to succeed, stop going into the parliament to tell us about how much people vote for you and join with the government in pushing the country forward, because it's better for you too. It's better for your people. Because if the country prospers, then Westmoreland people would get more help. George Bush was no friend of Bill Clinton. You don't have to be friends with the Prime Minister, brother. It's your country. Country over self, country over politics. We need to start a Choose Jamaica movement. And we can dismantle it as the election draws near. We need to start a Choose Jamaica movement. And dash with the all adversarial politics. Because that not put us nowhere. You don't have to be friends in a campaign. But when the campaign ends, the country begins. The country is bigger than your ego. The country is bigger than your party. The country is bigger than your pride. Put aside your pride. Put aside your ego. Put aside the partisanship. The campaign came to an end. Election night. The country must be placed first. And any one of these politicians that we see putting their party first over the next couple of years, we're going to call them out. Jamaica must look in the mirror. The Jamaican people need to look in the mirror. Come off at the internet with no foolishness, man, and let the country prosper. This is tear down the country, so. Hey, Miss Burchell. Yes? Miss Burchell can't find nothing better to do than to be making videos about the struggles of people. Negative, adversarial, want to embarrass the government. Go and talk to the minister. Use your CDF money. Write proposal to donor agencies and try to get help for your people. Jamaica need to look in the mirror, you know. Because what we are seeing now is not that spirit. Instead of a posture that says, let the country succeed, we are hearing, especially from Mark Golding, a reminder of his political strength. Solid as a rock. We they hear no solid as a rock. Solid as which rock? Solid as which rock? That's a threat, you know. Goldie, that's a threat, you know. And you have these subtle threats. Solid as a rock? You don't go in a parliament to be solid as a rock, man. You go in parliament to represent people. We don't want to. You know, Jamaica doesn't need any scoreboard right now, brethren. We don't need no scoreboard. Jamaica needs statesmanship. And you have not provided that, sir. With the greatest of respect, brethren, you haven't provided any statesmanship to the country. This is not the campaign season. Time come. Time come. Time come and done. September 3. Blood and fire. Part the song. This is not a campaign season. This is a rebuilding season. And when a leader chooses in moments like this to lean into division, when a leader leans into division rather than direction, this emphasizing of political footing instead of national footing, it doesn't strengthen the democracy at all. It blunts the momentum. I beg you, Mr. Golding, stop it. Because if I should call it plainly, there is a difference between holding government accountable and holding the country back. Is the country being held back by the comrades? Sometimes I feel as if we should just cut the country in two. Give them down out east there. Let them go rule down there. Set up them own government and just build one wall. The wall of Jamaica. Could we do that? No, we can't. There are some people in Jamaica that is holding back the country. Lego Jamaica, no man, Lego Jamaica. Oh God, this little country want to breathe. The country want to move forward. Good God Almighty. I've been looking at development. 8:45. I'm out of time, but for what it is worth, there are people holding the country back. Uno no see Jamaica. Uno no see say uno been held back by some people in Jamaica. Uno no see say uno them a hold up uno progress. Jamaicans feel it when projects stall. When progress slows. There comes a time in the process of a national rebuilding when leadership demands something higher. Lift the politics, man. The ability to say, I may not have won, but I still want the country to win. Anything less than that feels smaller than the moment Jamaica is in. Because history will not remember who had 28 seats and who got 400,000 votes. History will not remember that, you know. History will ask one question. When the country needed unity, who rose to it? We have to recognize that when the campaign ends, the country must begin. And just leave a few examples with you. United States, the United Kingdom, during World War II, there were fierce political differences. Winston Churchill formed a coalition government. Britain was able to mobilize for survival. And at that time, opposition didn't disappear. It matured into partnership for a higher purpose. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela formed the government of national unity. Thank you, Jamaican princess. At the end of apartheid, Nelson Mandela brought former opponents, including F.W. de Klerk, into a shared government. These examples tell us something fundamental. Strong democracies are not defined by the absence of opposition, but by the discipline to align when it matters most. Because elections answer one question: who governs? But leadership after elections answers the bigger question: will the country move forward or stay stuck in the fight? We're at a crossroad. I'm wanting to go to my analyst. Is Scratchy there or Harry? Who is Scratchy there? Once the campaign ends, the country must begin. We're not asking for silence. We're not asking for blind agreement. We're asking for something proven over time across nations. Other countries have done it.
And neighbor, could you please add Scratchy?
And that is the maturity to know when to compete. The maturity to know when to compete and when to build. I've gotten invitations to move from Jamaica. To move. And I must tell you the truth. I'm living in Jamaica. And I'm disappointed. Truly disappointed. And I'm telling you the truth. I am disappointed. Because we have missed so many opportunities. The adversarial nature of our politics is disappointing. And I know some of us would like to lay it at the feet of Golden, but I think it goes beyond him. I think we really have to look at the practice, how we practice politics in Jamaica. And I beg my Jamaican brothers and sisters, please, I beg you, I beg you, if it's the last thing that you hear me say, fight for your country. Fight for your country. Don't leave it to politicians. Don't leave it to politicians. And support Andrew Holness. He does have the country's best interests at heart. I am rooting for you, George Bush says. I'm rooting for you. Because America is bigger than the Republican Party. Good evening to you, Scratchy.
Yes, good evening, neighbor. Protecting Caroline, our loyal viewers. Blessed night, everyone.
Scratchy, I'm coming to you there, protecting. Good evening to you too, sir. The NARA bill is on my screen, and Scratchy, the government need this bill to drive the reconstruction. But Scratchy, why as a society we can't come together and just say, yeah, we need to do this and just move forward? What is wrong with us, Scratchy? What is wrong with us?
I mean, neighbor, I often ask myself the same question to neighbor, but when I look, neighbor, I realize that, neighbor, a lot of what is going on, neighbor, is as a result of the opposition, the People's National Party, neighbor. When I look at the persons who oppose to anything that has to do with the advancement or the development of Jamaica, neighbor, it's persons from the opposition. And the current leader of the opposition, neighbor, we have a different type of leader of the opposition, neighbor, one who is not patriotic, neighbor, one who doesn't understand what nation building is, and one who, neighbor, is trying to save his own self, his own political self in his own organization, neighbor. And as a result of that, he puts the best interests of Jamaicans and Jamaicans at risk. He doesn't care about us. He just cares about his maintaining his position as a leader of the People's National Party and trying to see how best he can muddy the water so that the government doesn't look or gain any form of traction or make persons think that the government is doing good. So this is the type of opposition leader. This is the same opposition leader, neighbor, where when he was vying to be leader of the political organization that he's now leading, neighbor, said that he made a pronouncement, neighbor, that persons who are fighting, neighbor, should stop the fighting right now. And whenever they win, they can go back to fighting. So rhetoric like those, neighbor, tell you the type of leader that this guy is, neighbor. Rhetoric like those, neighbor, tell you that this is someone that at this pivotal moment, this is not someone that Jamaica wants, neighbor. At this pivotal moment, Mark Jefferson Golden doesn't serve the best interests of us, neighbor. He's holding us back. When you look at a bill like a Naira bill, neighbor, you saw the devastation down here in the western side of the island. The Naira bill, neighbor, is supposed to make us more, it's supposed to build us back way stronger, build us back more, make us more resilient, and do some really, neighbor, type of planning where proper planning, because when you look at down that section that was devastated by Hurricane Melissa, neighbor, there wasn't any type of planning. Persons just build houses wherever they wanted to build it, whether it be gully bank, whether it be waterways, whether it be riverbeds. No proper planning was done, neighbor. And Naira is something like that is supposed to come back and make us much stronger, much more resilient. And if the opposition, neighbor, is trying to put down or try to trample down or try not to highlight how great such an initiative, neighbor, you just tell the neighbor that once the Jamaicans are for Jamaica, and you have next set, neighbor, that is definitely for the destruction, neighbor, of Jamaica. And it's so sad.
Yeah. How do we pick ourselves up, Scratchy, and push forward to rebuild Jamaica? Because clearly there is a bit of politics at play here. I have no doubt, because who does delay benefit? Who does delay benefit in this scenario?
Neighbor, in this scenario, neighbor, all right at this particular time, neighbor, that is my reason, neighbor, for saying that Mark Jefferson Golden, neighbor, and the People's National Party, neighbor, especially Mark Golden, neighbor, I always say he's a political nincompoop. He has no political sense, neighbor, and I don't think he understands the political process, because even if there should be a delay, neighbor, this is the first year, neighbor. We're in almost 6 or 7 months of the first political life cycle of this political life cycle, neighbor. So you trying to delay a bill like this, it's not gonna create much. It's not gonna create much, because the government have a longer straight period at the back of them that they can institute this bill. The government wanted this bill, neighbor, to be passed as soon as possible, because the government wanted to hit the ground running. So I don't think that the delay is not going to benefit the opposition, neighbor. The delay won't certainly benefit the Jamaicans, neighbor. But I can definitely tell you, neighbor, that the delay, neighbor, will affect all of us. I can tell you who it will affect. I don't know who it will benefit, but I can tell you that it will affect each and every single one of us, neighbor, who are well-thinking Jamaicans. Each and every single person who live down in these disaster areas. Majority of the constituencies that were devastated were persons who supported the People's National Party. So it's up to them now, neighbor, to know that it is the same organization that they voted for, or who are delaying, neighbor, the reconstruction and the redevelopment, neighbor, in a timely manner, and them getting back their life to some form of a semblance, and life coming back to much better than how they were before, neighbor. So I don't see much benefit right here.
Yeah. The Gleaner today, Scratchy, had a very extensive editorial, and the Gleaner is suggesting that they do have concerns that about the bill. Now, I assume that the bill was constructed by technocrats within the government, and these technocrats, some of them may be lawyers who would have put the bill together. Incidentally, Scratchy, you know that as I looked at the Naira process today, I realized that Jamaica's problem precedes Naira, you know, Scratchy. We have a bureaucratic system in Jamaica that is holding us back, you know. I don't even Scratchy, the process of getting things done in Jamaica, the procurement process is onerous, it is cumbersome, and it is quite frankly, it has no place in a country that is seeking to move forward. Did you know, Scratchy, that there are guidelines in place in government that can take 3 years to get a project off the ground? 3 years?
Definitely, neighbor. We saw recently where the Prime Minister was giving out some lands, neighbor, that was lotted up and giving out, neighbor. The Prime Minister, it was over 20 years that whole process took, neighbor. That is craziness, neighbor. That's a whole new generation, you know. How we do business in Jamaica, neighbor, especially our development. It has to be done in a timely manner. It has to be done in the context, neighbor, of what needs to be done. That is why the institute, that's why the government is trying to come with NARA, neighbor, where NARA will have the power, the autonomy, the power to bypass a lot of these bureaucracy process, neighbor, bypass a lot of these red tapes, and go directly towards the development, neighbor. And as much as all the PNP want to stay, neighbor, they won't be able to stand up to bar this bill. This is not a bill, neighbor, that requires the opposition, it requires any vote from the opposition benches, neighbor. It is a normal bill. It is not any bill. If it was a bill that has to do with changes towards the constitution, then the government would have needed opposition member. So we don't need any opposition member to pass this NARA bill, neighbor. It is a normal bill. It is a bill, neighbor, that will be run by the direct control be from the office of the Prime Minister, but to limited parliamentary oversight in terms of the budgeting and stuff like that will be done by the Parliament. But who they will report on an everyday basis will be the Prime Minister. So this is not. I'm not worried about passing this bill. The longest that this bill can be rolled up, neighbor, it's only about a couple months, and that is in the Senate. And I don't see it. Yes, they can come with that type of blockade, moving it, sending it to oversight committees and stuff like that. But even if it goes to oversight committee, it has to be done in a timely manner. So they can't stop Naira, neighbor, no matter what they do. The last result that they might have or they might try, because we've seen them done this before, neighbor, is that after the bill is passed, they might want to seek some form of legal grounds and try to bring it and tie it up in the constitutional court or stuff like that. That is something that they might do. But if we see them go that route, neighbor, that is definitely, again, the next nail in the coffin of the PNP, neighbor, trampling on the advancement of Jamaica, trampling on the development of Jamaica. But they can't stop Nara right now where it is at, neighbor. Despite whatever the Gleaner want to say, neighbor. There was a bill passed, neighbor, similar to Nara, not in the sense of reconstruction. But the Petro-Caribbean bill, neighbor, was one, neighbor, that was passed same like a Nara bill, neighbor. Limited parliamentary oversight, neighbor. The Minister of Finance of the day, neighbor, had total control over the Petro-Caribbean fund and how the money was allocated, how the money was funded and stuff like that. So with Nara now, neighbor, coming in that slant, I don't see why the opposition should have a problem, because when the Petro-Caribbean fund, neighbor, was being instituted, they got opposition support, because the Jamaica Labour Party was in opposition at that time, and the Jamaica Labour Party backed it. So I don't see why this PNP, neighbor, led by Mark Golden, neighbor, is so anti-development, is so anti-Jamaican, and continue, neighbor, to trample, neighbor, now the redevelopment and reconstruction. NARA is a game-changing bill, and I think it's you said earlier, neighbor, that politics is at play, and it is politics that is at play, neighbor. The People's National Party knows, neighbor, that with the introduction of NARA, neighbor, and majority of the constituencies and persons who are displaced, neighbor, persons who are in support of the People's National Party, the opposition party, and with NARA going into these constituencies, neighbor, they are fully aware. I said it last week, neighbor, that a lot of these grants, these roof grants that are being granted, neighbor, a lot of these persons who will be asked to put on back their roof, neighbor, these persons are going to be displaced again, And when I say displaced, I don't mean to put in any shelter or anything like that. These persons are going to be asked, neighbor, to move from some of these areas, because I can tell you, neighbor, that a lot of these roofs that are going back and houses they are going to be asked to move, because NARA is something that will be done, neighbor, with complete planning, proper geographical location, neighbor, town and country act planning, proper scientific record and scientific background checks on the lands and soils and stuff like that. So PNP is fully aware of that, neighbor. And with the movement of people from point A to point B, neighbor, political organizations, neighbor, don't see what the benefit, neighbor. All they can see, neighbor, is votes, neighbor, that support them in a particular area being removed and go to a next area. So what the PNP is looking at, neighbor, is saying that, okay, it is possible that we might lose vote, because they know, neighbor, that majority of these areas, neighbor, that are not conducive to any form of formal living or any living, residential living, neighbor, are strong PNP, neighbor. So they know that if the government should go into these constituencies and these parishes with NARA and say, okay, 500 people live here, the whole 500 of you guys might have to be relocated because you're living in a riverbed and it is always going to be flooded. You have to, and here is a part of a place where you guys are going to go. Now they might go to somewhere where they say, okay, if we move 500 votes from this area, we're going to lose these votes and they might lose the constituents come the next election. And that is why we have so many informal settlements in Jamaica. That is why it was so difficult for PNP to fix up Jamaica, neighbor, because PNP rely on these informal settlements, neighbor. They put these people to live in these settlements, neighbor, to build up their voting until it come election time. And Jamaica has passed, neighbor. We have passed the time, neighbor, where everything, where our development is based on political advantage, neighbor. if the development and the advancement of Jamaica, neighbor, is based on one political organization advantage, neighbor, we are not going to reach anywhere. We will never reach our true potential. Being one of the Caribbean nations or CARICOM nations with the highest population, and being one of the most popular Caribbean nation, neighbor, we're going to still continue to see our neighbor with lesser population, with lesser popularity, continue to outdo us, neighbor, because those guys are directly developing their country for the advancement of the future, neighbor, while Jamaica is sticking, developing, neighbor, and the development is totally pinned towards the political advantage of a political organization. That is total madness. That was the case in the 90s, and that is why we saw communities like Bakto, that is why we see communities like Riverton, and that is why we saw down there in Westmoreland so many informal settlements, because the People's National Party relied on these informal settlements. They relied on these dilapidated places. They relied on these people, but they put them in there in masses and let them farm. They let them live like rat and roaches down there in these places, neighbor, and they morph them. They give them basic handouts and keep them as under scarce benefit as well. And then build a formation, neighbor. These people breed up like rats in these places. They get overpopulated, and once they get overpopulated, you're going to reach 18 at some point in time, and these persons matriculating to vote for them. So it is difficult for them to move 1,000 people from a place or an area, neighbor, that is not conducive to living and put them to a different area, because all the PNP can see is losing 1,000 votes. The PNP cannot see that, okay, 1,000 lives has been advanced, 1,000 people living in better living condition. That is why Jamaica is in the situation that it is in right now, and NARA is about to change that. And the People's National Party, neighbor, they are very scared of that, neighbor, because they know that a lot of the communities right now, a lot of the constituencies right now that support them is ram and full with informal settlements. And these informal settlements, neighbor, people will be asked, neighbor, to take themselves away from these areas and go into more advanced settlements where it conducive to living condition. And that is what the People's National Party is afraid of.
Fantastic information from you there, Scratchy. Hold on there for me. I want to welcome Protecting Jamaica, and I also want to welcome Harry Enriquez, who is joining us on the YouTube channel. So Harry is live on YouTube. Let me know if you're hearing me, Harry. Protecting Jamaica. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, neighbor.
Protecting Jamaica. Did you get a chance to read the editorial from the Gleaner?
No, neighbor. Even though I really don't read the Gleaner, but I really didn't have a chance.
Okay. Protecting the Gleaner is raising the concerns about how the NARA bill is constructed. I see it, my brother, as the politics of delay. Dress up as consultation, deeper reflection, joint select review. But in real terms, Protecting, it means slowing down reconstruction at a time when Jamaicans are trying to rebuild their lives. Is this not just going to throw the bill off into coming on stream next year, Protecting? Could this be a political strategy of the special interests in Jamaica that are antithetical to the country's forward movement and are against the government of the Jamaica Labour Party?
The same thing I told you the last time we had this conversation, which was, I think, Friday. That the delay tactics will kick in once the debate on the bill starts.
Yes.
It is not going to be any different going forward. You see, they are not doing this with any good intention in. And they're also doing it because of a wide pool of special interests in Jamaica and in this whole matter of the reconstruction as we move forward. So it is not anything of a substantial position that they're putting forward. It don't matter to them. It don't matter to them. Because, for example, A lot of money will be spent, neighbor.
Yes.
A lot of money. It is almost $2.5 trillion will be spent.
Yes.
It pains the PMP heart that they are not in control of the spending of this fund. There's no other way to put it. There is no other way to put it. It bond them say, and them control the purse and will see to how this money is being spent. Now, this evening,
By the way, I don't think we have ever had this amount of money to spend on reconstruction ever in Jamaica.
Nope. A matter of fact, this money has never been spent in any term in Jamaica on infrastructure or the development of the country. Never, ever, ever, ever.
There you go.
So they know, especially the capitalists in the group, they know the power of this money. But also their friends in the private sector knows the power of this money. And they also know that because they do not have any immediate control over how this money will be spent, that the very thing that they are afraid of is going to break out. Where the little man, the average guy who has a business, who has a construction business, who has a business that offers service and can offer these services to the government, are going to start making money. And I love to go here. Poor people, the little man, when granny found in a country did work hard, and the little money we should tie up in a knot under the mattress, and his mother will wash people dirty clothes, send him to school. Finally, there is a situation emerging in our country where these young guys and young girls will begin to get a break. Many of them getting breaks already. But this $2.5 trillion is going to ensure that them climb up and that them stay up. The People's National Party are afraid of that. A neighbor then go and pull teeth and fingernail to attempt to stop this. It is not. They tried it this evening. I've been watching the debates all evening because I really wanted to see what they were up to. And there became a point in the entire debate, neighbor, where everybody sit down and say nothing. And the speaker to say to them, but I have all these people on the list here to speak. Why don't want to speak? They want to wait till next week. They wanted to wait till next week. And them never stop until the parliament adjourned. And then next week, them are going to end up talk. Next week, neighbor. And I can bet you next week when they come in with something else. Now, is the bill perfect? No.
Yes.
Nobody said that the bill are going to be perfect. Because it's a bill being introduced. And there are always amendments in bills that are introduced to the parliament. And nothing strange. But the way them lining up and the way they're putting it forward as if something inherently is wrong with the bill and the whole entire bill must be scrapped, and it is the idea that Mark Golding suggests should form the basis of another bill. No, it is just a delay tactic because they know Jamaica is going to move forward. A lot of these people in Westmoreland will have to move, and guess what? 99% of scratches here who have to go move are comrades. And at these little pockets them depend on when election come to vote for them. So this is much bigger than one bill and how this not in there, how that not in there. Much, much bigger than that. They are concerned about numbers. And that's all it has always been for the PAP. Now Mark Golding, let me touch Mark Golding a little bit, neighbor. Anybody who is of the illusion that Mark Golding care about Jamaica, them need to just go lock up in their house, chain up themselves and embedded and stay inside. Them not deserve to even come out and go mix with sensible people. Okay? Just before the Hurricane Beryl, the week before, Mark Golding traveled to England. Okay? And when as Beryl got closer to Jamaica, and I realized I think it was category 2, and then by the time it hit Jamaica, it went back up to category 3. I saw him come back 2 days before. The same thing with Melissa. Mark Golding went away the week before, him wife and him two pitney them. It was the trustee, 2 of the trustee I know from the PMP who called Mark Golding and tell him say no look good. A category 5 hurricane cannot go lick Jamaica. And when all is said and done, because there's going to be delay in travel and all of that, because infrastructure might mash up, then it is going to be said, where's Mark Golding in there, England? That's how he came back 2 days before the hurricane made landfall, and him left his wife and kids up there. Mark Golding don't care about Jamaica. So if you are of the illusion, it is that he cares. You're stupid just like him. Mark Golding is using the PMP as a means to an end. And that's the only thing that's important to him. And we need to get that in our head now. And we need not to fool ourselves that it is any other way around. Don't fool yourself. Disabuse your own mind of this nonsense that he cares about Jamaica. It is about him. Okay? In Andrew Wallace's economy, them are bid. Him and Peter Bunting just opened them new development must be sat there. Okay? Multi-trillion-dollar investment in an Andrew Holness economy. It is all about Mark Golding, it's all about money, it's all about him and his friend them. And his friends, I don't know if you remember last week, the Master Builders Association used to be led by Comrade Carvel Stewart, which is now led by a younger comrade. Come out about this bill and now and this and that. They are voicing their disgust publicly because they know that they do not have complete control over the spend, and it's a lot of money. Everybody just sing for them plate of food. And if we fool ourselves in believing that, okay, not because the bill is not perfect, it is going to cause some harm or some damage to the society, we're just fooling ourselves. The People's National Party will never care about Jamaica. Never, ever, ever. And I will not even spend too much more time talking about that, because it makes no sense to talk about it. But guess what? We have to recalibrate people's minds and redirect them to common sense and truth. Because it is required, sadly, that is required in an environment like this, where the PMP just create an atmosphere of distrust unnecessarily. And while they're creating this atmosphere of distrust, the people are not smart enough to look into themselves and say, hold on, over 10 years this government in power, and the government has produced, other than the attempted manufacturing of scandals that the PMP attempt, there's none. So why now we should believe that there's going to be some untoward action in the spending of $3 trillion? Why now? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's an attempt again to manufacture a situation to get you to distrust and to disbelieve your government. And I will not join into it.
Thank you.
The bill will be passed next week. And when the bill pass, then the regulations will come after, and we will go into the rebuilding. And them can go and kick up rumpus as they so choose. Me not care about them.
Thank you for that. Good evening to you, Harry. Am I hearing Harry? Good evening, Harry.
You hearing me, neighbor?
Loud and clear. How are you?
A little tired tonight, neighbor. A little tired.
Well, the YouTubers, the TikTokers should know that you're live on YouTube, right?
Yes, neighbor.
Yes, you're not on TikTok at all. We're streaming live on YouTube at the same time. So you are managing that channel over there, sir. How are things over there?
Well, not too bad, you know. We know the growth is coming, but always picking up the YouTubers, neighbor. They're with us. They're growing.
Yes.
TikTok, you just might be having some serious company very soon.
Wow.
But we'll be monitoring it and enjoying the company over here, neighbor.
Well, that's fantastic. Say hi to the friends. Say hi to the friends over there for me. Make sure.
Definitely will do, neighbor.
Yeah. Harry, would you put in context for us the NARA bill? Get us to understand, Harry, why NARA? Why is this bill important to us moving forward, and why is it that the government have to bring this bill to Parliament for Jamaica to move forward? There are many people asking, why not just work within the system that you already have? Explain to us why NARA is important, what it is about.
Well, one of the major things, neighbor, based on the volume of money that we will be handling over the next few years, we need to have a full-on framework and structure this money to ensure that this money goes to capital-driven infrastructure,
Yes.
things that will also push the country going forward, and also do it in a timely manner, because we don't have this access to this money for more than, I believe, 2 years, right? Which goes into 2027. And based on the current framework that we have in Jamaica, we could go the full 5 years, neighbor, and never use the money because nothing was done. So one of the major things NARA allows is for us to fast track, which is no investments of minimum 15 million US going upwards. This also protects investors, neighbor, right? Because and protection in the sense where it gives them guarantee. It ensures that investors know that the money is going to targeted areas, right? Yes. It is going to drive development in sectors that needs to be developed, specifically, private sector, neighbor, because the truth about the rebuild is that it's not the public sector that will be rebuilding Jamaica, neighbor. It is the private sector. They're the ones who keeps an economy going. And as such, NARA fosters that relationship between government, governance, and the private sector. And this has given the private sector, and this consists of, investors internationally, regionally, and specifically locally, because we need to ensure that we give these people guaranteed outcome, but more so guaranteed timelines, right? That is the most important thing, or one of the most important thing when it comes on to this rebuild. It's not something we can spread over significant, like 1 term, 2 term, 3 term. We don't have that luxury, right? And as such, we want to also ensure that wherever this money goes, neighbor, it gives immediate return to pay for itself, but also pay for Jamaica going forward. So we can't do it the traditional way. One of the major things is that NARA is breaking down and also strengthening frameworks that we should have had at least 2 decades ago, right? And as such, we have to ensure that NARA protects the performance of not just a government, but ensure continuity and proper succession when it comes on to any program and projects that are taken on. And the people of Jamaica need to understand the magnitude of that. NARA is going to ensure that accountability is at its highest. Something we've never seen before.
Yeah, let me ask you. So the loan agencies or the institutions, this is part of the arrangement that the loan will flow to NARA and not to the government coffers.
Exactly.
You broke up there.
Well, it's setting precedents.
Yes.
Oh, I'm saying it's going to set a precedence. It's also going to ensure that it's not tied up in our.
I don't know.
Right. That's the beauty about it.
Sorry, you say it's not tied up in our budget.
No, it's not going to be tied up in procurement aspects and entities, neighbor. So it really will be fast tracking a lot of things, so it doesn't get tied up unnecessarily. So and I always use, for example, what happened with the JCF, the police force, and procurement when it comes on to having gotten the cameras, right? That was something that took almost 2 years to get, and it was a necessity. But because of procurement and a lot to achieve that feat until 2 years after. NARA is ensuring that they remove that and that we can actually go ahead and do the things we need to do at a faster rate, at a more impactful area, and also we have accountability at its highest, and also to make sure that the people of Jamaica can ask any questions and they can get any answers at any given time, independent of any government or any member of parliament, any institution within government as well, right? Because NARA is one that will show that this development that will be done won't be partisan in nature. So you won't have, oh, I'm going to do this because it's in this area. No, it's going to be done based on the best interest going forward.
Okay. Now, did you get a chance to look at the concerns that the Gleaner is putting forward? Hello. Well, I'm not so sure that I'm getting Harry there. Shafreen, what can you help me? What are you hearing, Harry? Oh my! All right, Scratchy. Yeah, Scratchy. So clearly, Scratchy. As is most things in Jamaica, politics gets involved. But don't you get the sense, Scratchy, that it's time for, maybe not time for, but that the government will have to assert itself and push through this bill so that the reconstruction can start and that the funding can start. Don't you get the feeling that the government needs to itself be pushing this forward, and despite the obstructions and concerns, that it has to lead the process of making sure that this bill goes through Parliament?
Definitely, neighbor. This is not, as protecting said, neighbor, this is not the first, neighbor, where we have seen bill come to the Parliament, neighbor, the opposition or civil society or private groups, neighbor, try to downplay or try to push back or rebuttal against it, neighbor. And we must also let the viewers understand, neighbor, that whenever a bill is introduced, neighbor, outsiders also have a say, neighbor, in giving it, whether they want to add any amendment or stuff like that. They are given a chance. Certain civil society groups are given a chance, neighbor, to be a part of the process. So when a bill is being passed, neighbor, it's an all-inclusive process, neighbor. It's not just government persons who just come and speak on it and whatever. Once an amendment is prescribed and it makes any sense, then the government will definitely have to subscribe to that, neighbor, and work with it. But I don't think, neighbor, based on the importance of this bill, neighbor, I don't think the opposition have any chance of stopping this bill. Come next week in Parliament, we're going to see a full house, because that's when the voting is expected to go on. So we're going to see a full house come next week, neighbor. As I said before, it is a majority rule bill. You don't need any members of the opposition to vote for this bill for it to be passed, neighbor. The government members of the majority in the Parliament, they can pass the bill. Government members of the majority in the Senate, they can pass this bill, neighbor. The only way the People's National Party can hold up this bill right now or try to stop this bill, neighbor, is if it's from a legality standpoint, neighbor. And I am pretty sure that the technocrats, neighbor, who are constructing this bill, neighbor, they are making sure, neighbor, that there's no contradiction, there's no impeding on any part of our constitution, there's no impeding on any law, any other laws or anything, neighbor. And NARA will definitely pass, neighbor, whether the People's National Party likes it or not. It's a majority rule bill, and the majority of the persons are the Jamaica Labour Party who was that majority right now. So I don't see them stopping it, neighbor. I don't see the PNP stopping it. I know, neighbor, it is a bill that is being pushed by none other person, neighbor, than the Prime Minister himself, the office of the Prime Minister. So I think, neighbor, Cabinet understands how important this bill is, neighbor. some members are also understand how important this bill is. And everyone will come to Parliament come next week, neighbor, ready and waiting, neighbor, to say their eyes, neighbor, in the passing of this bill, neighbor. The opposition is a minority. They can't stop it. And as I said before, it's only from a legal standpoint right now. This bill can be stopped. And I am not I'm not savvy in the legal part of it, neighbor. But if there is anything I would ensure, neighbor, that the Prime Minister and his team is looking at that, neighbor, to make sure that nothing stops this bill going forward. We need Naira, neighbor. We cannot reconstruct Jamaica in the time that we want to reconstruct Jamaica. We cannot reconstruct Jamaica, neighbor, in the way that we want to reconstruct Jamaica in its present format, with the present laws that are on our books right now, neighbor. They are time wasting, neighbor. They waste times, and with time wasting, neighbor, it also has an additional cost because inflation increased. The price of today, the price of tomorrow.
Yes.
So we have to make sure, neighbor, that we pass these bills, we pass these things in a timely manner. We have to make sure, neighbor, that the necessary things that needs to be done, all the necessary agencies and departments are under one who can pass this bill, neighbor. And I have no problem, neighbor. I think one of the main things that the PNP have, neighbor, is the power that they think that Naira will directly report to the Prime Minister. I think that is also one of their issues that they have, neighbor, because anything that has to do with this Prime Minister, the PNP try to knock it down as if he's the first or the first person to ever bring up anything like this. So Naira is the game changer, neighbor. Naira is what Jamaica needs to move forward. Naira is what Jamaica wants, neighbor, and no opposition is going to stop this, neighbor, for too long. We have allowed the opposition, neighbor, to slow our growth, neighbor. We have allowed the opposition to stop our growth, neighbor. We have allowed the opposition, neighbor, to sink Jamaica in a deep hole, neighbor. We have allowed the opposition in the party, neighbor, to sink us in dire poverty. We are not just the opposition, neighbor. They're proxies because they know, neighbor, that they cannot do it all by themselves. So what they do, neighbor, is get their proxies. I won't call anyone personally, but when you look at the media, they use their proxies in the media, they use their proxies in civil society, and they use them proxies, neighbor, in a whole lot of organizations to come, neighbor, and try to push as if the Naira bill is something that Jamaica cannot manage or is something that Jamaica don't need. Based on the loan, neighbor, that the Jamaica government took or that the Jamaica government had, neighbor, it is a loan over a 3-year period, neighbor. We have to make sure that it is transparent. We have to make sure, neighbor, that it is dollar for dollar is done, neighbor, because this is a loan, and this is not a loan where you get from any other regular person, neighbor. This is a loan from global multilateral agencies, neighbor. They are going to be watching, neighbor. They're going to be making sure that we spend this money, neighbor, in the right way, shape, or form. They are going to be ensuring that we get dollar benefit for every single dollar that we spend. And Naira is what we need for that, neighbor. We should use the current format that we have in place.
The current legislative framework will not allow us to get that money.
Will not allow us to get that money, neighbor. The current legislative framework, neighbor, will not allow us to draw down on that money in a timely manner, neighbor. It will not allow that money to be spent in a timely manner, neighbor. And it will allow costs to be continue going up, because if you budget for something, neighbor, this year, come next year and the next 2 years, not the same budget. You're going to have to increase your budget, neighbor.
Yes.
Because the price of goods and services has increased as a result of inflation. So the People's National Party, neighbor, and its proxy groups and persons who support the opposition, neighbor, who continue to talk bad about Naira, what I would advise the PNP, and I don't want normally give the PNP any advice, neighbor, but my reason for giving the PNP any advice this time is for the advancement of Jamaica and for the development of Jamaica. What I would say to the PNP is, for over the weekend, come with proper amendments, come with proper things that you think could be added to enhance the bill. Don't try come and fight the bill and stop the bill in its totality. See how best what you can add to the bill to make this bill more advanced, to what you can come to the table with as a collective group, neighbor, to see how we can push this bill forward. And don't try to give the narrative as if the government is creating this bill so that they can be corrupted, so that they can bypass surveillance systems, so that they neighbor, this Naira bill is going to be more transparent than any other thing, because I can tell you, neighbor, this is funding from multilateral agency, and if we don't make use of this funding, neighbor, and come the next, God forbid, the next 10, 15 years, we should get another Hurricane Melissa, neighbor, I can tell you that the support that we got at this time, we will not get that support, neighbor. Because persons are going to say that we played with their funding, we wasted their funding, we stole their funding, and we're a corrupt country, neighbor. And that is where we are coming from. And we have changed that mindset out of multilateral agencies that they are willing now to give us these advanced loan in this quantity and these amount, neighbor. And we must thank and respect that, neighbor, and know that NARA is going to be transparent. NARA is going to be for every single person can have an understanding of what is going on. And what I would advise any well-thinking persons or the PNP neighbor who continue to strike, go and see how best you guys can advise your constituency members to go to art and get a skill in whichever area or capacity that NARA might need them. Go learn construction, go learn plumbing, go learn people with the teeth, push your constituency. Tell your constituency that there's this new big program coming called NARA with the highest development, the highest development of the highest level of development in the history of Jamaica from a monetary standpoint. Advance your constituency member, push them in the art, make people go in a country that they can benefit from NARA instead of trying to tear down NARA. NARA is have a lot of cash, and it takes cash to care, and a lot of cash will be spending, and instead of us going overseas for some of the small services that we could have used our own success for, train your constituency members in these areas, PNP. Majority of what needs to be done in NARA is in PNP run constituencies. Train your constituency member. Pressure the government as a whole. You can get art to fast track some training until the time NARA start, the constituency members can benefit instead of coming and trying to tear down the NARA bill in its totality and make it look like this bill is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of Jamaica. Neighbor, I have all faith and I have all trust in NARA, neighbor. And I know that, neighbor, NARA is something that we need to move forward because we cannot wait. Because based on how climate change is moving right now, neighbor,
Yes.
we have to make sure that we complete this in a very timely manner and complete it not just in a timely manner, neighbor, but in a way, neighbor, that we get best value for money. Because if we should wait and start any form of construction and see another major storm come 2-3 years' time, all of that construction will be eroded, all of that progress will be eroded. PNP, neighbor, I don't know why these guys are so difficult. I don't know why PNP don't understand these simple things. And I think they do, but it's just politics. And PNP don't realize that in 2026, led by the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, right now in power, led by our Jamaica owners and the cabinet, neighbor, the advancement and the development of Jamaica, this cabinet, neighbor, don't see color. This cabinet don't see green and they don't see orange, neighbor. All this cabinet see is how we can make Jamaica greater, how we can make Jamaica better, how we can advance Jamaicans' life. It is full-time, neighbor. We have persons who are not choosing any, whenever persons go to dispose or go to do certain things, neighbor, persons can do it in a way that has pride, neighbor, and has some form of dignity. We have too many of our citizens, neighbor, living in shambles. We have too many of our citizens, neighbor, living in farmer settlements, neighbor, and certain personal things, neighbor, like toiletries are using our bathrooms and stuff like that, neighbor. Those are basic things that we should have in 2026.
Yeah.
A lot of these neighbor, they still don't have these things.
Yeah.
So CNP need to stop, fight the development and the advancement of the people of Jamaica, man, and leave the people alone. PNP, and the people them live. The
Okay.
people deserve better.
Yeah. Let me ask you something, Scratchy, before I get to protecting. We're 16 after the 14 minutes to 10 o'clock. The Jamaican reality, Scratchy. Here in Jamaica, we have to ask ourselves, have we reached, or when are we going to reach that level of political maturity? Because Scratchy, too often our politics remains trapped in 5-year cycles. Government proposes, opposition opposes. Not always because it is wrong, but because that's how we practice our politics. And that is where development slows, Scratchy, because it is not a lack of ideas in Jamaica. It is because we are not aligned, Scratchy. Don't we have a moment in our history, Scratchy, where I and you, I'm a little older than you, but when in our lifetime have we had this opportunity where multilaterals are prepared to pump so much money into our country, Scratchy, to drive us forward. Why can't we seize this moment as a country and just come together, Scratchy? If even for the next 2 years, we can't do it beyond us.
Neighbor, all I can say, neighbor, that this present time, neighbor, this present moment, neighbor, is a pivotal time, neighbor, in the advancement and development of Jamaica. And if we should miss this mark right now, if we should let this time pass, neighbor, and we don't do what we are supposed to do, neighbor, my granny would have said, dog, nyam with supper, neighbor.
Boy, I tell you.
Dog, nyam with supper, neighbor. It is full time, neighbor, for Jamaicans, neighbor, to stop the development from a political standpoint.
Yes.
Stop believe that because it's not your political organization that do it, it is no good. Stop believe that it's not because that the man who you support that do it, it is no good. Stop. Whatever Nara is bringing is for the well-being of every single Jamaican, whether you're a PNP or a Labour, right? So it doesn't matter who is in government, neighbor, right now, or who is in power right now.
No matter.
Stop, neighbor. And this is my problem that I have with Jamaica, neighbor, because we think Jamaica is in a situation, or at least some of these things, neighbor, some of these mad arguments can foster and go so far and strive. Because well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, remain silent, neighbor. But, neighbor, negativity or violence or whatever, neighbor, strive because the few would refrain from speaking out, neighbor. And if we, as the well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, continue to remain silent on these things, neighbor, persons are going to think that it is okay and it is right. Persons we never want to, you cannot allow. Neighbor, Andrew Wallace alone cannot be the man who worry about everything and come and say, no, this is good, this is good, this is
Dead
good.
right.
It's him and we because I must say good because it's him.
Dead right, sir. Dead right. And don't you think, Scratchy, that political activism from the Jamaica Labour Party is needed now too? To push back against some, yeah?
Political activism from the Jamaica Labour Party has been lacking for the past couple of years, neighbor. I don't know why. And political activism, neighbor, don't mean it has to be a strong man. It don't mean you have to be someone who is illegal.
It's forming pressure groups to talk.
It is forming pressure groups, neighbor. It's forming a combative group, neighbor, who can combat things in a way, neighbor, where the common person can understand that his rubbish is coming from the opposition.
Yes.
We need these type of things, neighbor. We need to see these persons come out and be more bold.
Yes.
Be more
Like all next week when the bill for pass a parliament, 2,000 people, well, now here will be 2,000, but 500-600 people turn up down there with placards saying, pass Nara.
Pass Nara, no. Pass Nara, no.
Yes.
Nara, no, but we are not seeing these things, neighbor. We are not seeing these things from well-thinking Jamaicans, neighbor, because if you don't give them 5,000 each to go to parliament, they're not going.
Yeah, or flood the Gleaner with letters and observer. Pass Nara.
Letters and observers, neighbor, good people.
Call talk shows.
Neighbor, the persons in Jamaica who know good and want good, neighbor, we have to speak out. We have been silent for too long. And it is our constant, it was our silence, neighbor, that caused PNP to rule us in the 90s, neighbor. It was our silence, neighbor, that caused the PNP to get away with so much corruption, neighbor. It was our silence, neighbor, that caused the PNP, neighbor, to do so much destruction to us, neighbor. It was our silence that caused the PNP to win 4 consecutive elections.
Yes.
Because we were too silent. They used political violence against us back in the days to silence us. Now political violence is a thing of the past. Well-thinking Jamaicans never need to come out and be more vocal.
Well, I'm calling up on the neighbor rights tonight, sir, to post it. Post it on them. They must make a video. All of you.
Nara, talk about something good that is going on in your country. That doesn't mean you're a Labour right.
Thank you.
You don't have to be a Labour right to talk about something good that is going on in your country. You need to make sure that you're patriotic Jamaican and you're a plan that you can say to yourself, yes, this plan will definitely advance my country. This plan will definitely make my country stronger and better. You come out and bonafide and big up the program and big up the plan because we have an opposition party here who's, neighbor, so once opposition alone continue to speak and they have persons out there in their proxy group who come out and speak on their behalf who are not politician, neighbor, it is always going to seem like, okay, so it's not my goal in alone, I say the program.
Correct.
Yeah. people and say the program is good too. But from the Jamaica Labour Party standpoint, the government come out and say the program is good. Who else is out there backing up the government saying it is good?
Not one pressure group, not one civil society group, none, no union. Welcome to the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union.
Neighbor, I don't know what is going on, neighbor, with the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union. I don't know what is going on with all of these groups, neighbor. I don't know why. They look at even young Jamaica and the G2Ks and all of these persons, neighbor. I tired of press release, you know. These guys are these press release. Neighbor, press release not going to Jamaica, not reading nothing.
That's right.
Jamaicans are not reading anything. Cut out this press release and start called press conference. But I get to find out, say, the reason why a lot of them don't want to hold press conference, neighbor, because they hold certain position in society, neighbor, from a professional standpoint, where they cannot come out and be vocal. Then remove yourself from the process then. If you're not a politician, remove yourself, because once you join G2K, you must be all about pushing the narrative of the Jamaica Labour Party. And if your personal life is going to prevent you from doing that, remove yourself from the process. They are in the wrong field.
Big talk, big facts. The moderator would say big facts, big facts. Big facts, Scratchy, big facts.
Remember, you're in the wrong field. If you cannot boldly come out and talk about the Jamaica Labour Party being an arm of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Moderator, call a meeting with the neighborize them for me then. We need to pressure something.
Your personal life or where you work personally. You need to remove yourself from this process then.
Yeah.
This is a politician. And once you're a politician, you're a politician.
Big facts. Big facts, Scratchy, big facts. You listen.
They need to remove themselves.
Strong talk. Big facts.
Anyone of you guys in G2K and speak about the advancement and the development of Jamaica and the good that the Jamaica Labour Party is doing. Because of your professional life, you're in the wrong field. Step away from G2K.
Yeah,
Step away from G2K.
Yeah, you listen, man. You're big on the facts there now. Protecting Jamaica.
Yes, neighbor.
Frame the conversation in terms of the national importance for me. The moment in our history, protecting Jamaica. How would you frame this discussion for our listeners so that they understand how important this is for us? And while you answer the question, bear in mind where we are protecting Jamaica, because quite frankly, 51 or 53% of our GDP lost protecting. We're barely building back. Inflation have us away. Oil prices are rising. The economy may slow down. We have to drive this forward protecting. How important is this moment for not the Jamaica Labour Party, but for the country?
We're at a crossroads, neighbor. And it's a crossroads that is going to show many of the cracks that exist in our nationhood. Now, I remind myself constantly when I get angry that I should direct it at the PMP, the party, the hierarchical aspect of the party, and not really the people.
Yes.
I remind myself sometimes, I have to pinch myself. So, for example, the views that Scratchy just expressed are the views I hold.
Yes.
But these are views of an advanced society because we've been exposed to advanced
But
society.
by the way, why have you not been able to explore protecting some of the very activism that Scratchy speaks about? Because you have been so passionate about it. But
I have done that in many ways. I because of the nature of my history with the politics and other things, I have to remain anonymous. But I've done that in other ways, and I am still trying to find a way to do that more fulsomely.
Yes.
But as I was saying that, because Scratchy and myself and others have been exposed to advanced society. You see, exposure is a beautiful thing in a name.
Absolutely correct.
And again, in sociology, which we reference sometimes, once the human being is exposed to a new reality, a different situation than his peers, especially singularly the human being.
It's multiculturalism, you know. It's very important.
Yes, very important. The behavior will begin a transformation that sometimes the same exposure, even though for a short time, sometimes by the time you go back to your peers, they will begin to see the difference and they will say, but think we're like better than we are, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not that you're better, it's just that you've been exposed, and because of your exposure to something that is more advanced or better or a stage up or a step up from that which you knew, then it means that your overall behavior will be different. Now, I have to constantly remind myself that our country is just about 64 years young.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in contrasting, in matching up sometimes our country to advanced societies that are 200 years old, England, that still has its struggles. England changed 5 prime ministers in 2 years.
Yeah, and of course, the United States is celebrating its 250th anniversary
Right,
today.
250th anniversary. And, you know, and then England is about 900 or close to 1,000 years old, you know? And when we do that, sometimes it takes away the important factor
Yeah.
that until these changes happen forcefully, they will. Because I think the Prime Minister understands this very well. And until they happen, the people will not begin to think differently. So, for example, now the JLP managed to get a 3rd term because of the results that people were able to see leading up to the last election.
Yes.
And now these people had a platform, they had a basis on which to judge the current government on the advancements that we have made.
Uh-huh.
Now, I bet your neighbor that in another 2 decades, when Jamaica would have turned the corner and the society would have been so, we would have gotten to the point where we passed the 32,000 minimum wage per week, and we're now rubbing shoulders with about $600 a week at that point, which is standard in some US state like Georgia and even Florida. By the time you get to that point where people are able to eke out for themselves a better way of life, the standard of living will improve, especially throughout this term. The standard of living will improve tremendously. People will begin to have a new outlook. You see, these very little things that some of us don't regard because we have been exposed earlier than link fences from some of these communities will improve the outlook of the people.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us might not see the importance. So I direct my anger and my disgust at the PMP, the party, and the hierarchy, the structure at the top, because they know the effect and the impact of a mind transformed. And they, understanding this, knows that no longer will they be able to use the poverty politics to control people. And that is the reason why they fight tooth and nail to block or to prevent the very transformation of the people that they speak publicly about, but secretly and behind closed doors, they really don't want it to happen. Because the substance of an improved mind is now what they will have to approach people on, and not some little petty, nonsensical stupidness. Neighbor, in another 3-4 years, characters like this lady who was on the news saying that she not know water, but she a vote. They say she a PMP because she not a head.
Yeah.
It is sad to say these things, but guess what? It is good for Jamaica that by the next cycle, these people might not be around.
Wow.
And it is the fact. It is the fact, neighbor. The elders, those who hold on to a certain way of life, where Michael Manley told them to go live on some people's land, but they do not have any title. They only have entitlement, but no title to the land. It is bizarre. 20 odd, 30 odd, 40 odd, 50 odd years later, they still are nowhere. And the PMP have always use this. They have always held it over their heads and used it against them. And as recently as leading up to the last election, the Councillor Dan in Westmoreland, was reminding them that a PMP give them pit latrine in 2025. A PMP give them pit latrine, so they must vote for PMP. They hold these silly, nonsensical, stupid situations over them head. So I blame the PMP for knowing better but not doing better. But not until you think the Westmoreland people would vote for the PMP if they were exposed to a different way of life and a better way of life. They would not.
Yeah.
You couldn't come tell them about no pit latrine.
So protecting. The disaster, Melissa, it has created an opportunity for Jamaica. As sad as it was, an opportunity has been created. But protecting, will we seize this moment, do you think? Do you think we will seize it?
We're seizing the moment, neighbor.
Okay. Yes.
The Prime Minister understands the mission. It is his vision.
Yes.
Remember, the Prime Minister understanding what happened to Jamaica. He went, he did his groundwork, and he came back with Nara. The Prime Minister said Nara, and Nara me say. So the Prime Minister understands the gravity of the situation, and I think he also understands very well what it will take to get this situation work. He knows that with this almost $2.5 trillion, he knows that the current government apparatus cannot spend it. He knows with the lag time between the different procurement levels will not allow this money to be spent.
Yes.
He knows. The opposition also knows this, and they also know that if this money is spent, then we are really advancing. They don't want that because it will be another feather in Andrew's cap. And they can't allow Andrew to get no more feather in his cap.
It's a Nara fourth term.
Because currently, they're in the middle of planning their comeback for the next election. Because that's all.
Do you think that narrative is of substance? That Nara is a fourth term?
It is the most substantial argument that I am going to be beating like an horse for the next 4 or 5 years.
What you say?
Yes, it is. It is the fourth term for Andrew Holness. And a matter of fact, it is the fifth term too.
What are you saying to me?
You see, Harry was saying something very important a while ago, It's just a pity that his line wasn't that.
Yeah, he coming back.
Yeah. These loans have terms.
Yes.
Limits on them. And you have to take up the loan within the period of time. Now, these are global rules that governs financial institution, because it is money that does the work. And therefore, the money in the global financial system has to be accounted for. But there are terms that are put on these loans, and the loans must be used within those period of time. Mark Golden knows this too, because he runs a financial institution. He understands how these things are. So this tactic where you see them come with, where everybody sit down in the parliament since evening, silent, nobody want to talk, even though them name them on the sitting for talk. They want to wait till next week. And I can bet you next week, they're going to say somebody where they want to talk don't come. And then they're going to try to make it look like if the government choose to move ahead, they're going to try to make it look like the government is rushing this thing. I know how they are. I think the government also understand what is going to happen. But the Prime Minister, I think, understands what he needs to do. You can't sit down and wait on them. Because on one hand, they are saying the people need help. No!
Yes.
But now the helper come. On the other hand, they say, oh, wait a little bit, push it back, delay it. What
a something, sir? What a paradox.
So it is showing that they have no genuine interest for any help to go to the people. No, I don't know why, even after all of this, there are still some people who refuse. God, people know in a neighbor, as Scratchy said earlier, People just refuse to participate in the public discussion. And I think the primary reason is that through them know the PMP are wicked, and the PMP will literally get you out. Literally. Yes, they have these discussions, but among friends, among family members, and so a lot of people shy away from having the public discussion. But people know, people see what the PNP are doing. People understand what they are doing. People understand what they are doing, and people know what the government is trying to do. And I do not believe that people are going to judge Andrew Michael Wallace harshly. If next week when time come and them try hold you up again, him say, listen me, we need to get along with this, we need to get this done now. Let us move the bill through its stages, let's go to committee, and after committee, let us have the vote, and then send it down to the Senate, or send it up to the Senate, make the Senate debate and pass, which is going to take another 2 weeks or so. No, and at the same tactic them are going to use in the Senate. I mean, no Sir Lambert Brown, if he's going to drop down by next week Friday, he's going to have a field day.
Well,
in there.
Yes.
Because he need to roll down one hill and down. Nobody
well, yes. No, sir, I tell you the truth. Well, let me hear back from Harry. Harry, are you back, sir? Mr. Henrique?
I'm here, neighbor.
Well. How are your friends over by YouTube? They're treating you okay?
Well, I've been on and off, had some technical difficulties, which seems to be resolved now.
Yes. You were telling us about the process of NARA and why NARA is important and why Jamaica needs NARA and why the government had to form NARA and how NARA will function. Would you pick up that for me?
Sure, neighbor. So yes. One of the major things people need to understand, the getting of this $6.7 billion package, right, neighbor?
Yes,
is
sir.
Not one that we were ever going to get. And I stand on this wholeheartedly. Without the tabling of NARA, without the potential tabling, because at the time it wasn't fully formed, but without the conception of it, we wouldn't have gotten that package, right?
Yes. And
people need to understand why. And earlier I would have spoken to the giving the confidence to investors, letting them know there's accountability, transparency, and targeted investment, because this is not money that is there for freelance. You can't just go see money and use it. It has to serve a specific purpose, and every red cent, right? We always hear Granny say red cent and so on. Every cent.
So part of the accountability system is built into the loan by the lender.
By the lender, right? Because they have to not just see a level of return, neighbor. They want to ensure that they see the monies go to the projects, go to the infrastructure that it is deemed to go to. It is not like back then when we hear cost overrun on some projects and projects never yet done, right? This one is targeted, and NARA is the framework that allows this money to operate in a surgical manner. So we're not looking for things to go to waste, because it's not money that is luxury. Everything has to be strategically placed, and it has to be providing a level of return, whether that is financially, whether that is for the local people, development-wise, and also infrastructure and so on. Everything has to give a different level of return for the country, for the people, and also for the investors. Now, the thing about NARA, neighbor, and this is what the opposition needs to understand, and the people of Jamaica needs to also understand. Starting with what the people need to understand, neighbor, before I go to the opposition. If the opposition continues to fight NARA, what this means is that the opposition is fighting the people of Jamaica and their recovery. That is how serious this is. Without NARA, this money cannot be utilized.
And the money is not in the government's budget.
it goes to no in terms of the anything with government, it doesn't go. NARA is the sole spearheading, right? It has its own body that it answers to, which has independent people. I believe they would have selected the head personnel by now, and that was put out for people to apply to. So this is not cronyism and nepotism set up. This is something Jamaica has never seen before. And I know people will have pushbacks against it because with change, people naturally don't like change, neighbor. But understand this, it is one in which challenges every single Jamaican, both personally and also how they want to help Jamaica build better, not a build back situation, right? Now, why I say that is with whatever services that are required to help build back Jamaica, the people of Jamaica have to ensure that they equip themselves to take advantage of the many opportunities that will be coming, right? Opportunities will be, Jamaica will never see opportunities like this probably again until another lifetime in this short time frame. So it challenges everyone who don't understand. It challenges people to change how they will operate, how they work, and to take every single opportunity that comes their way. This is a time for Jamaicans to come together, make money from this project while building back their very communities and cities and doing it better, because now we have an overseeing body that will ensure that this is done. Why I say the opposition is against the people of Jamaica if they continue to fight NARA, neighbor, is that there has never been any framework in Jamaica's history that has been able to fast track any project of this magnitude. None. And if you stand in the way of that, you stand in the way of the people's advancement, the people's recovery. If we think the opposition stood in the way of the Western Jamaica getting back a light with the JPS thing, that is baby compared to if they tried to stop NARA. Because NARA is the holistic movement of Jamaica. We always say we're third world. This is, when done right, it's that project that will push Jamaica to what we can then classify it as first world status, because that is how much development will come, and why this framework is needed as well, neighbor. Where the world is going, Jamaica needs to get there and get there very quickly. So we need to ensure the bandwidth is there, right? We need to ensure that the communication lines are better than before. We also have to ensure that whatever infrastructure we put in place can withstand another minimum category 5, and to do so over several decades, because this is not a little bit a project thing. We're going to have people, engineers right around the world on these projects, spearheading it, ensure Jamaicans do what is right for themselves. And if the opposition continues to try and fight this, neighbor, people need to understand that, listen, this is the opposition saying to every mason, every carpenter, every worker, right, every skilled individual in Jamaica, this is technically the opposition trying to stop bread out of your plate, right? This is the opposition slowing down your recovery without having any alternative put forward, right? The opposition have never seen something like this either, right? And their first instinct is to stop it. When you don't understand something, this opposition don't try to learn about it, neighbor. And you'd have heard me said months ago where NARA came from. The 3 major catastrophes that were studied, and they utilized the recovery framework from each disasters, and we put it together to form this. And this attracted the biggest investment to any small nation anywhere in the history, right? People can go and check that if they want to. No other country of this magnitude has ever been able to attract. We never run go borrow it, you know. We attracted it through our fiscal discipline of a decade and counting, through the changes of whatever framework we already had, to now be able to plug in NARA to improve those frameworks, and also to ensure that it has sustainability and it can drive Jamaicans. In fact, NARA will be optional after 5 years. It can be renewed. So it is not one that is indefinite. And Jamaican people, as it goes along, neighbor, they'll be able to appreciate for what it not will do. But when them start to the brick and mortar, because I understand that people want to see something tangible at times. They say seeing is believing. But sometimes what we have now is hope. And we've seen this administration have been changing frameworks, have been removing things, have been correcting decades of mismanagement. And I don't think this is a time where you'll expect them to blunder on the biggest legacy in any Jamaica Labour Party administration ever. Because when this is done right, we can forget about Andrew worrying about his legacy. This is going to be a Jamaican advancement legacy, one in which other countries will come and study it. Because this, the people need to understand, is that the world is watching, and NARA is not just allowing the world to watch, NARA is also protecting us and giving us another level, a stepping stone for people to take Jamaica serious again. If they think what happened in the 70s and 80s, Jamaica was a thing, neighbor, this is where we're going to step into a different era that the world has never seen Jamaica in.
Yeah. What are some of the projects that NARA will be responsible for?
But the major one, neighbor, is the one for the private sector, to give businesses of very varying sizes, small, medium enterprises, larger ones. The major ones, though, is anything 15 million and over. So this would have to do with capital injection for businesses that will be a part of the recovery, whether that is like construction, communication lines. Energy will also be part of it. I am still waiting to see how we will channel that. Roadworks.
Yes.
Major. When we talk about communication lines, bandwidth and road, in fact, roadworks allow us to have the bandwidth, and I'll explain that to persons.
Okay.
You can't have proper internet connection if you don't have a road, because nobody can go anywhere to put up these towers. So what it does now, when you look at roadways, neighbor, this unlocks. Example, taken from the budget that the Prime Minister read, opening up lands in Hanover that are inaccessible to create homes, because you need the roads to open up these lands, right? You need ease of access so they can open up additional resources, spaces. The opposition run on about, there's shortages and so on when it comes down to houses. NARA will fast track that, because you need the level of infrastructure to do so. And there's no other framework ever in Jamaica that can fast track that can allow it to deliver within the next 2 to 3 years, minimum 10,000 houses, right? This is one of the major things. When you look at, moving cities, case in point, Black River,
Yes.
opening up investments on the coast instead of having houses on the coast. When you're opening up these level of investment, not necessarily to overseas people, but also locals, right? Giving them a new way and protection of their very businesses that were there. Letting them build back in a stronger manner, better infrastructure. Businesses that maybe who have needed capital injection can do so, right? They will also go through the DBJ when it comes to Development Bank of Jamaica, to get these loans and so on, to advance businesses. There will be birth of businesses because of NARA's framework, neighbor. For people, a lot of opportunities will be open up for entrepreneurs. People there with great ideas that couldn't act on it will now get opportunity. And this will be done in a way that it also protects not just the financial economy, but also the ecosystem in these areas that were devastated, right? It is not just one in which we will see us putting up homes and other infrastructures. It is one that will match the highest standard, global standards. Because understand this, building back for a category 5 neighbor.
Yes.
Even first world countries can't take a category 5. Had Melissa pass us and go to US, I'll know them probably still are trying to get water out of certain places, right?
Yes.
And we were able to circumvent that and looking now to recover in a manner where we're opening up investment, we're opening up businesses for the coast to expose the world to a different people cost tourism, this will open up the southern coast more for more local investment, and they can take advantage of tourism products and packages that they will offer to the world, right? This is going to ensure that people can earn different ways. When I talk about arts and crafts, which is unappreciated, by the way, when it comes on to Jamaica, right? We don't get half as much as other countries in this department, and Jamaica is known for its craft, right? It's going to open up these things. The fishermen.
When you're going through the island bamboo there, sir, you see some men with some towel hanger something there. that's
Definitely, neighbor.
Eh?
Right? When you look at, housing infrastructures coming inward and being fully protected, right? Doing so withstand Category 5 winds. Remember, neighbor, when I speak on Category 5 winds and housing, Westmoreland barely have any housing infrastructure. It's not me beating people who's in the West, right? But I'll stand by what I say, and how people take it, they're willing to take it. But from what we've seen, very few housing structure could have withstand that hurricane. And now it being the minimum, it simply means that whatever infrastructure is put there should be withstanding that, which means the persons who have them little business, it now go blow when liquor breeze come again. It now go wash away because it's more inward, right? And they can also ensure that they don't have to keep on worrying about where they're going to get the next money from if the business mash up, if the place blow down, because you would have built building at a higher standard to last longer. So you see that every hurricane season come, you start for it, that worry is gone. Not fully, because anything can happen, it's nature, but you can be at more ease. When you look at livelihoods happening, for agriculture will get a boost. No, right? You will start to see different things coming into play. But NARA is the drive, NARA is the factor, is the framework that will enable all of these things. So when the opposition attack, people need to understand this. That is one. The opposition is trying to stop for you. If they are, and they won't be successful, but let me play the devil's advocate. If they are successful in doing this, right? This is what it is stopping for the people, all who vote for them in the West. This is what they're stopping. They're stopping new opportunities that you never dreamt of seeing in this short term. They are stopping your livelihood, not your survival, but your advancement, right? Your self-independence, your interdependence on a system, and independence of a member of parliament, of a party. This is putting you now to trust the system and framework, as opposed to you have to go trust a one man or who you know or try or wait to get a team. This is opening up you to now take these opportunities, build better, advance yourself, be a driving force, and be a force to reckon with economically. You can now contribute even greater. Right? This is a period in Jamaica's history where we have to get right. And I always say, you have to be very decisive with these things. Sometimes you have to be so steadfast, neighbor, locked in, be focused, shut out the noise. And right now, the opposition is all noise. They're all bark and no bite, no substance. They are trying to divide in order to conquer. But don't think it is dividing the government. They're trying to divide the very people that they should be leading. And if you divide the people for something away from something that they need, this is not a want. You think 56% of our GDP wiped out just to magically come up? That never happens. And this is something that we're fast tracking in a manner where nobody in the region, no country of this size has been able to do it in the short term, and we're able to protect it while doing so, right? You know, look here, say, this man get money and you know see the work. No, this is being sought and being done by a overarching body, one that will give you any information you need. and the confidence again in a system. Neighbor, you see, when people can trust a system, they don't need an individual because the system works. And in order for the system to show the people it works, they have to buy into it and not buy into an opposition. Because if we haven't seen from September 3 to now, they're still campaigning. Every single thing the opposition has done is to try and stop the people from getting back water, getting back light, from getting the help they need, and they've offered nothing in return, right? Then that's not a relationship you want to foster. This is a system that has nothing to gain from the individual. It's a system being built for the individual through its government that they will keep, that they can add to, and that will protect them. Jamaica is moving into a new age that is leaving the opposition behind. And this is why we hear the rest of the world say Jamaica is, forward thinking. And individuals, Jamaicans, locally, regionally, and overseas in the diaspora, you have to fall in line with that advanced thinking. This is where you challenge yourself to adapt and adopt the changes that will come with NARA, because that is how you evolve as an individual and evolve as a people to get your true independence and not tied to who you're going to vote for after 4 or 5 years.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Harry. 19 minutes after 10 o'clock. And let's do the final round, starting with you, Scratchy. Scratchy, there's a difference between holding government accountable and holding a country back. And I think that's where we are at, Scratchy, because I believe our people need to feel the difference between holding government accountable vis-a-vis holding a country back. Because when projects stalls, when progress slows, they feel it when the politics sounds more like positioning rather than partnership. No one is asking the PNP members to come and sit on the government benches, Scratchy. That is not what people are asking. Oppose where you must. But there comes a time, especially in moments of national rebuilding, when leadership demands something higher, Scratchy. The ability to say, I may not have won, but I still want my country to win. Isn't that this moment, Scratchy, where opposition, not only the People's National Party, but all well-thinking Jamaicans need to say, I want Jamaican to win. Anything less than that, Scratchy, feels smaller in this moment that we are at. Eh? And I believe the people of Jamaica need to mark this moment and reward those people who step forward to say yes to Jamaica and to punish those who say no.
Yeah, but I think they got the PNP.
Neighbor, could you please turn up the volume on your microphone for YouTube?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Scratch.
When I look at this opposition, neighbor, I think they take the word opposition literally. Maybe take the word too literal too, where they try to oppose every single thing. And as I often say, you don't have to oppose everything that the government comes with. As an opposition, as a loyal opposition, or opposition that makes sense, your duty should be to make sure that you hold the government accountable. You hold the government accountable, meaning government introduce a plan. You know that, okay, this plan has the best interest of Jamaicans. What you say now to the government as a loyal and real opposition is, okay, I support this plan, but just know that we will be here to hold you guys accountable, to make sure that you meet the objectives and make sure that everything is done in a way that the country's benefits are best. So the opposition needs to stop. And one of the next thing to neighbor is, I think, neighbor, it is because of mediocre and our politics as was birthed, neighbor. The reason why the opposition can do things like these, neighbor, is because we blame neighbor, or we glorify politicians neighbor, or we vote in politicians neighbor for doing their job. When I say doing their job neighbor, a politician fix the road and he's seen as Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You should not be seen as Lord Jesus Christ for fixing a road. That is a duty, that is a job.
Yeah.
You get to make no neighbor. So things that we should look on neighbor to advance politics neighbor, to voting politician neighbor, voting government overall, is the economy neighbor. Because the economy is so broad neighbor that it doesn't take any specific thing to grow the economy. It takes a certain level of creativity, it takes a certain level of skills and those type of things to grow the economy. When you look at even the reduction in crime, those are things that you reward government for. You get me? So the EM shouldn't be running, we're trying to tit for tat or trying to gain any form of popularity because you believe that the government go down here and develop these type of homes and develop this kind of structure. The government is going to get rewarded for it because 20 years or 10 years from now, people are going to say it's labor right do that, and it's never PNP do that. When it shouldn't be like that, neighbor. We need to change how we see our politics. We need to change the structure of our politics. We need to change how we reward politicians. We need to change how we award politicians. We need to change how we glorify political organizations, neighbor. Because my two biggest thing that you judge an organization by neighbor is how they manage the economy should be the main one. That should be the main thing, how they manage the economy. And how they also make sure that how they handle crime and violence, those are key things, neighbor. How they deal with the advancement of our educational system and strong and things like that. You cannot be rewarding politicians and trying to get glorification because you fix a road or because you do something. Those things are things that should be done by agencies, not by any politician. I know, and we have an opposition leader again, neighbor, who doesn't care about the advancement or the development of Jamaica. I live in Canada, neighbor, and the other day, the opposition leader neighbor, who is very critical neighbor of the current prime minister of the party that's in power here in Canada neighbor. He was in US doing an interview on a podcast neighbor, and a question was asked of him neighbor, and the opposition leader said to the interviewer, "I am not going to bring down the prime minister or talk bad about my prime minister on foreign soil. I will not do that."
Yes,
that is what he said in the interview neighbor. I will not come here on a foreign soil and talk bad about the prime minister of my country or talk whatever issues I have with him when he go back to Canada, I deal with that. But I'm not going to come on your podcast and talk bad about the prime minister. So you have to understand neighbor, it's all about, it's not the office, it's not the post neighbor, it's who is the man that hold the office and the post at the time neighbor. And Mark Gold neighbor has shown us neighbor that he's not a patriot neighbor. He's not someone who looks out for the best interests of Jamaica and Jamaicans neighbor. He's not someone who understands the political landscape neighbor. He's not someone who is a realist neighbor. He's not someone who wants to see the advancement of Jamaica, because if Mark Jefferson Goldie neighbor really wanted to see the advancement of Jamaica neighbor, in most of the things, not what you say neighbor, but it's how you say it. So when the government come with something like NARA, and you stand to oppose NARA, it's not what you say neighbor, but your rhetoric, your demeanor, everything sends a stronger message than what you're saying out of your mouth. You are basically showing us that you have some form of grudge against the introduction of this bill. You are showing us that you really want to see this bill trample and don't go any further and don't see the light of day. That is what you are showing us. You are not showing us that whatever concern you are raising is genuine and coming from a place of genuinity and coming from a place of wanting to see the bill advance its best of our ability. You literally want to shut down this bill. You literally want to shun this bill. You want to create a narrative around this bill that it is not transparent. It won't get what it is designed to get, and it is a total waste of time. That's what you're trying to do, and it is so sad, neighbor, that we have an opposition leader led by Mark Jefferson Goldie neighbor, who continue to hold back the development of Jamaica. Every single thing neighbor that is brought to the Parliament of Jamaica to advance Jamaica, to advance Jamaicans neighbor, Mark Goldie and his minions neighbor, they shut it down. They rebut it, they oppose it, they don't stand with it and say, okay, Mr. Prime Minister, okay, government of the day, this sound good, that sound good, but what do you think about tweeting it to this way? What do you think about adjusting it to this day, neighbor? Their tone and their rhetoric, neighbor, send a different language, neighbor, from whatever they are saying, neighbor. It shows that, to me, it sends a sense of bad mind. it sent a sense neighbor of not wanting the government to gain any political mileage, because that's all the PNP see neighbor in the development of Jamaica, political mileage, how they can gain political strength from this, how they can gain political points from this, and any political organization in Jamaica neighbor, whenever it goes on neighbor to introduce anything that has to do with the development and the advancement of Jamaica, and the reason for doing that, are the first thing that they look at, their main benchmark is the political mileage that they can gain from this neighbor. They are a sore loser, and they should always be seen as sore loser. They should be seen as unpatriotic. They should be seen as they should remain in opposition for a very, very long time. And I want Mark Jefferson going in there to change his tone, change his rhetoric, change his demeanor. Nothing is wrong with not agreeing with everything that the government comes with. But whatever point you want to say, bring it across away, Mark Gordon, where you seem genuine, where you seem calm, and where the Prime Minister can directly listen to you. But the demeanor and the style that you're pushing, it's like you're behaving like you're the Prime Minister, you're telling us that we can't do this and we have to do it that way how you want it to be done. That's not how things done. That's not how things gone. You're in the parliament, so you can debate on these bills. We can have an intelligent debate. You can share your views, and we can adapt your views if it makes sense. But don't come to the parliament and try to send a message to Jamaicans as if Naira is a waste of time, or as if Naira is foolishness, or as if Naira is put in place to bypass government regulation, or as if Naira is put in place to bypass any form of integrity, scrutiny, or the contractor general, or any one of these agencies that are in place. It is not, neighbor. Naira is the game changer. Naira is needed to push Jamaica, advance Jamaica by 2030. We had a goal, neighbor, to reach first world status, and reach out Jamaica to be the place of choice to live, raise family, and do business by 2030, neighbor. And we missed that mark. We missed that, neighbor. No, we have Naira. I'm not going to tell you that. With Naira, no, we are going to be the place. We're going to achieve that. But I can tell you that with Naira, neighbor, come 2030, we're going to see big changes in the development in terms of our roads infrastructure, in terms of our schools, in terms of our hospitals, in terms of our bridges. Jamaica suffers from a serious bridge problem. In terms of our bridges, in terms of our towns, neighbor, Jamaica towns are decaying, especially in rural Jamaica. When you go to certain towns, neighbor, you can't believe that this place looks like it's a place from the 60s, the 70s, same way. It is not developed. When you look at where some of these communities are, neighbor, that is why we have to always, in a recurrent budget, we have to always be spending so much money, neighbor, on floodings. We're spending so many money and drain and all type of thing, neighbor. Why we keep doing this? Because persons are living in places that are not conducive for residential living, and it is putting a strain on us. These are resources or funds that could be channeled in more important part of our society. But every single budget, we have to keep budgeting and putting money in place so that as rain due, not even heavy rainfall, as rain due, these places are flooded out. Why? Because it is poor infrastructure. It was not made for residential living. It was done to gain political mileage. It was done to gain political strength. And most 3/4 of the time, 9 out of 10, it is as a result, neighbor, the PNP did it. The People's National Party did it, neighbor. They put people in place, neighbor. And the government, we are feeling it as taxpayers. We as taxpayers, we are the one who are feeling it, because funds that should be channeled in other avenues have to be recurring on these things every single year. Rainfall, rain due, people are getting fed up with just a little minor rain due. Those things are crazy in this, neighbor. You cannot run a development, you can't develop a country like that. Country cannot grow like that, neighbor. A lot of Jamaican resources, neighbors, are tied up in things, neighbor, where we just do it, give it a proper fix, we would save ourselves a whole lot more money in the long run. And that is what Naira is about. Naira is about building back stronger. Naira is about building back more resilient, neighbor, so that whenever we don't know, and when the next hurricane will come, hurricane will always come. And you cannot 100% make anywhere hurricane proof. But I can tell you, neighbor, that you can make it more resilient towards the hurricane. Come, neighbor, we get a category 5 hurricane. When Naira construction, neighbor, we won't lose 42% of our 50% of our economy again as a result of that. We won't have 100,000 Jamaicans who flying off, neighbor, as a result of that, because we build back much more stronger, much more resilient to the cause of natural disaster. That is what Naira is about. But the PNP don't get that in them brain. The PNP vacancy is that votes will be dislocated, votes will be moved from part A and we have to go to part B, and that's all they can see. Because the PNP know, neighbor, that majority of where need development and majority of where the destruction took place in Hurricane Melissa are persons who are strong supporters of the People's National Party, are areas that are strong supporters of the People's National Party. And fly high or fly low, Mark Jefferson Golden could have ball till God come. Even 927 million neighbor cannot stop the advancement of Jamaica this time. We're at a very pivotal stage in our life, in our lifeline right now, neighbor. And if we miss this mark, dog, Niam will suffer again, neighbor. We cannot afford to miss. It is going to cost us way more in the future, neighbor. I don't want my kids and my grandkids, neighbor, to be the one who have to come forward, neighbor, still worry about drain issues, neighbor. Who have to come forward and still have to give money for person's roof who remain and them time them turn adults. That is crazy, neighbor. Whatever is being fixed, it might not benefit us right immediately in our lifetime, neighbor, but it is being done, neighbor, so that our kids and our grandkids, neighbor, can have a better life than what we have. And any parent out there who don't wish for their child to live better life than what they live, neighbor, they are not a real parent. And Mark Golden, neighbor, Mark Golden need to understand that you're not just stopping the advancement of Jamaica right now for 2030 who you want to vote for you. You're stopping the advancement of the 10-year-olds and the 15-year-olds and the 20-year-olds who are to come. Let more resources be in our budget where we can put more money to education, to advance the education of our country. We should be spending way more money on education, but we can't do it because we have to spend on these informal settlements, these informal communities when time rain come and flooding start. We have to spend on roofs program in time if person's house is properly insured and properly structured. We wouldn't have to find $10 billion right now if you give poor people or give people about 75,000 or 500 to put on back roof. You should have gone to an insurance company to get those claims. That is how countries run. Government not supposed to go. The government cannot, within the next 10, 15, 20 years, find $10 billion again to give nobody, neighbor. Cannot.
Yeah, can't do it.
Should not. Can't do it.
Wow. Well, Scratchy, great contribution tonight, sir. Thank you so much. You've done excellent well. Very good, sir. Protecting Jamaica.
This neighbor is still there.
Protecting Jamaica. You bring a wrap on this. No, we are suggesting that it is urgent legislation with discipline oversight. So, pass the framework, strengthen the safeguards, empower the accountability structures, refine as implementation unfolds. But no delay, because Jamaica does not need laws that look good on paper. It needs systems that move in real time within the country's reality. All right, sir?
I'll direct my response to the PMP. At the PMP. No. Operation Pride. On the main financial document, which formed the contract, it shows that $16 billion were spent.
Yes.
Or was spent. But there are only receipts and invoices to show that $8 billion can be accounted for. Which means that $8 billion gone in some people's pockets. Today, as we speak, our Prime Minister are fixing issues within Operation Pride, development or non-development. What are the issues? The land was identified, no road, water, or light wasn't put in. Now, if these lands are government lands, the lands are identified, There's a plan developed to put in roads, water, and light, infrastructure, but none was done. So even the $8 billion that is said to they have found receipts for, you still can't show where the $8 billion spent for do. So $8 billion can't find out of 16, and the $8 billion we can't find, the work that is said to be done isn't done. There are still unsettled situations as it relates to titles for these lands. So largely, over 80% of the Operation Pride development are unfinished and unoccupied. unpossessed. The Prime Minister today, Andrew Holness, has to be dealing with all of that. Now, all of this to show you that the People's National Party only cares about the money. And if the money is not going to come into their hands, you see, one of the best things that is happening in this whole thing in a neighbor, listeners, is that we have a Prime Minister on a chat. We have a Prime Minister who is showing the value of planning your move, strategizing in silence, and then when you move, you broke a foot. The PMP does not have the benefit of the Prime Minister talking left, talking right like Mark Golding. And so something always come back and bite him. When the Prime Minister speaks, he's ready to act. And when he acts, it hurts. What do I mean? Over $2 trillion will be spent. And the opposition really have no control over how it will be spent. Neither do they know what it are going to spend on. Remember from the outset, Hurricane just done. Them start asking money. The Prime Minister say, all right, give them $2 billion a year to start clean up and give them 10 million over here so to start clean up, and then him end up give them another 20 million. 30 odd million in all, almost 40 million they get. Then come back again and ask you 50. They just want the money. What did they do with all that money that the Prime Minister gave them before? So much so that the Prime Minister had to come to the Parliament very upset and said that I have instructed the minister to release the list of names and the amount already given to member of parliaments. Because they take the money and go and pay off election bill and not even a buckle of water. Them not give the people them. They were there all the time depending on Pernell Charles Jr., the Minister of Labour. To carry the rice and flour and the case of water them, come and give the people. So in a nutshell, if I may at this point, what is being proposed, NARA, will solve a lot of the issues without the politicians becoming embroiled. You see, to show you how the PMP has scratchy say, them not realize what going on. NARA is even going to save the PMP from corruption. But they don't mind it because they love corruption. It is their dwelling place. With NARA being a body now centralized, set up by itself, dealing with all these resources, the multilaterals will now release the money to NARA. It now come to no politician. NARA now acts as an agency, effecting the work, save the blinking politician them from any semblance, any consideration of corruption. But the PMP don't want that. Them rather, they have the money channel through the MP them. Make them spend what they want to spend, and then them will come out and fight the corruption battle. Any accusation of corruption, them will come out and come find a messaging and find an ad campaign to fight against it. The people of Jamaica must begin to understand that we have a government that is very deliberate in their actions because they are confident in what they are doing because they know what they are doing. A neighbor for tomorrow, when you find some time tomorrow, take a listening to Delana Seavright's response to the PMP in the Parliament tonight. I think his response was a very good response, responding to the nonsense that came out of Mark Golding and the others. Yes, the bill is not perfect. The bill needs work, but that is why it is being debated. And that is why it is going to go to the committee for them to make the amendments and approve the amendments. We as Jamaican people, we must see the broader picture. Look at what the government is doing, what the government is aiming to achieve from this, and support it. Because the intentions are pure. And as of such, I will continue to lend my voice to this discussion, and I suggest that those who are listening to us who should now have a clearer understanding of what the government is doing. When you enter discussions with anybody, whether they be of some P or no P, enter the discussion sharing information from an informed position. Thank you very much and good night. Thanks to all the listeners. Thank you, neighbor. Bless up yourself, Scratchy. Caroline.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, and take good care of yourself. Now, let me jump up to my friends up on YouTube, and Harry's over there. Harry,
Yes, neighbor.
would you close out with your YouTube friends for me, and let me go and have my dinner, sir.
And you might not too late to have dinner right now.
Well, that's what I have to. That's how I have to live, sir. I mean, I start at 7 o'clock, and you know, I normally don't eat early, and so I'm going to get a little sweet potato now with a piece of yam and maybe a little cabbage, and max up a little something at the night. But it was a fantastic discussion, Harry.
It definitely is.
Getting a
But
little understanding of NARA and positioning in terms of our development. I've really enjoyed the presentations tonight. I'm learning a lot, and this program is causing me to do a lot of research, to look into a lot of things that I would normally have looked into, but I want to come up here prepared so that I can offer substance to my listeners. And you and Scratchy and Protecting, Sheffreen and Caroline have also helped to make sure that this happens. But I hope to listen to those presentations in Parliament, Harry, because I believe if we are interested really in national development, then this moment is very critical for all of us to understand what is exactly is happening. Put the wrap on it for me then, please, Harry.
well, I'll use the KISS method for tonight, neighbor. You know, keep it sweet and simple.
Yes.
But in essence, and I'm speaking to Jamaicans. I'm not speaking to a party line. I'm not speaking to any affiliations or allegiance. And if I am speaking to any affiliations, it might be the ones that are affiliated with Jamaica.
Yes.
No, NARA will unlock the future for Jamaica. It is one that we have to embrace. It is one that in its infant stage, as it is right now, is forcing each and every person to get information to understand what is going to shape the future of Jamaica, what is going to shape the very future of each individual, and what the future will hold for those who are yet to come. Because make no mistake about it, if we get this wrong, and I don't think we will, but if we get this wrong, we have nobody else to blame but ourselves to allow an opposition to prevent our growth.
Yes.
To interrupt our future in a period where they don't have even a hand on. Because it's not like the opposition right now is the government, right? They are taking a backseat per se. But Jamaica have to treat this to understand that, listen, this is your way out.
Yes.
This is everybody's way out to not just correct what happened in the past, not to scrape what is left of the future for some of us who are on the sunset side of things, right? Would have lived probably a full life and so on. But this is about the decision each person in Jamaica will make as an individual that will shape the future of generations to come.
Yes.
We've seen how other countries have done it in different ways. We've seen, for example, Singapore with Lee Kuan Yew. We've seen what we spoke on with Norway and oil. But this is one in which our oil right now, our version of Lee Kuan Yew, is the decisions that the people of Jamaica will make. Because this is going to ensure we either see a doom and gloom situation or we see sunrises every morning. We see Jamaica as the creme de la creme again, right? So we not needed to make mistakes. We're going to be here every night. We're going to be providing as much information as we can. And for areas that we aren't, experts in, and because we don't know everything,
Correct.
we will make our best attempts to get those who can also shed the light in those areas. But we are doing our job here. This is our decision being made to empower our people of Jamaica about something that they have to make an informed decision on embracing, because their survival matters on it, their existence, their continuity, and their very advancement. So let's not treat this like it's just another governmental project. It is not. It is the people's project. It is the people's future. It's the people's right to be advanced. And you have to guard it. You have to protect it. And you can only do so by understanding what it is meant to do for you. And it cannot be done without the people making the decision. This is what you've put a government in place to do for you, and they're governing. You have handed the responsibility, and now they're saying embrace what we've put there, and you embrace it by understanding and know where you as the individual fit. So you can make and leave a mark. Don't miss the mark like Mark. But this is where each and every decision made can slow down Jamaica, or it can advance Jamaica the fastest it has ever been able to do. And we want each and every person to be a part of it. For those who come on our lives every night and listen and understand, share the information where you can. And if you can't explain it like we can, tell a friend to tell a friend and a friend. And they can come every night and we'll have conversations that matters. That's our slogan. We'll abide to it. We stand on it firmly. Because these conversations that matters because it helps Jamaica to go forward. And we want to join hands, figuratively and literally, if you may, to step to the forefront, and let's make this decision together to choose Jamaica, but in a different way this time. We're not going to the polls. We're going to carry out actions by improving ourselves with the information. And also, you choose Jamaica one last time because you want to improve Jamaica. I know Scratchy say, in order for Jamaica to grow, the PNP must go. I'm saying to each and every Jamaican, keep choosing Jamaica, keep improving yourself, and let's do this together the right way. And the government has been doing its job, but we have a part to play. And that's how I leave it for tonight, neighbor. As if for YouTubers,
Yes.
it's been great to be with everybody. I do hope to do it again. I might stay over here in a neighbor.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna put you behind that desk. And that wonderful handsome picture of you there. Your mother must be very proud of you, and so your wife. Congratulations. So you're taking good care of yourself.
Definitely, neighbor. And YouTubers.
Fantastic team and Scratchy. Can you imagine when we sit behind that nice desk that our moderator is setting up for us?
Of course, neighbor. Place bundong, man. Place bundong.
I just need to get a nice suit like yours.
Neighbor, Scratchy might have to give you one, because Scratchy sharp when him ready,
Oh Lord, can you imagine? He's the modern day dresser man.
Man.
Very conservative.
It was a beautiful program, and I said YouTube numbers growing.
Yes,
I'm happy for that.
We never stream from TikTok to YouTube tonight. No, we stream directly. So in front of me is a camera that is linked directly to YouTube, and then I have my goodness, there are 3 screens in front of me right now. As a matter of fact, 4. I don't know how I manage with all of these lights and things like that. But I just want to tell the listeners that we are not even able to announce our Zelle accounts because they tend to be a little bit sensitive. But listeners, please remember that your support is needed to continue the program. And I think you listeners, you see the investment. Okay, you do see it. You see the strides that we are making. Look at the strides that we are making for the program, trying to make sure that we are on all over the place. And there are costs involved in doing this. And we have actually put ourselves in debt. We have to come and get a loan there, Harry. Would you give the Politics Plus network a loan?
Well, neighbor, if I put it this way, who knows if we may be part of the one that gets something from Nara?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We have to push Nara. We may get a contract out of Nara. Yeah, but listeners, 954-635-8732. That's 954-635-8732. Please remember that our WhatsApp line is 876-858-9553. That's 876-858-9553. We will not be on tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Not be on tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. The day show does not come on a Wednesday or a Thursday. We should be back on Friday at 11 o'clock. All things being well. And I'm not even so sure what is going to be happening tomorrow, 7 o'clock. But let's see what happens. But please remember, 954-635-8732. That's the Zelle account. If you are up on YouTube, the number is going across your screen right now. I spent some time today with the technical director. My goodness, Harry, it was very difficult to learn. And at one point I gave up and said, no, I can't do this. But,
better you than me,
Yes, she kept
better you than me.
And Jeffrey, next time I attend class with you, don't go so fast, please. I'm a slow learner. You can't just carry me too fast, man. I guess time was against her. As usual, Caroline, thank you for the wonderful production. Thank you for holding things down for us. Shafreen, let's wrap up with YouTube and tell them goodbye. Goodbye, YouTubers. Conversations that matter. Take good care of yourself. We'll catch up with you some other time. And my friends on TikTok, well, I'm under orders. So when I see you, I see you. But it's been great spending this evening with you two, talking about Nara.